to go ahead and call the special city council meeting on Monday, November 19th, 2012. I'd like to call this to order and move right to the roll call.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilwoman Gussie? Here. Councilmember Kimball?
Here.
Councilmember Potter?
Present.
Vice Mayor Farrell?
Here.
Mayor Price?
Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Tonight, as you know, we're here to select a new city council candidate as per city code. As such, we'll go ahead and read agenda item 3.1. The mayor and city council shall discuss and possibly take action on selecting and swearing in one citizen to fill the vacancy on the city council. It's for discussion and action. With that, council, we're going to open up some of the details that we have not had a chance to discuss publicly and openly, so that's what we want to do tonight. If you will look at some of the reference material, we have to formulate the final ideas so that all the candidates know exactly how we're going to proceed with this process. Originally, when we talked at the last meeting about how to do this, we had some additional discussion with legal after the meeting, and one of the things that we discovered was that it really probably wouldn't be appropriate to pick the people that we wanted to narrow it down from if it wasn't done in an open session. So what we've done is we've saved that tonight, and that's why the candidates tonight were originally notified that only those that have been picked would come tonight. If welcome to come, of course, but in turn you see everybody here, and that was done on purpose because at the end of the day we need to do this and make it public so everybody can watch it and see it. That being said, council, we have a few things to discuss on how we want to do it. So to start off, we need to discuss a few key points. And that is, first off, we have currently 16 people. One person removed himself from the running, so it's no longer 17, it's 16. Most of those candidates are here tonight. I still don't see one, though. That being said, we'll go ahead and move on to the points on how we want to do this. Each of the council members submitted 2 questions. Those 2 questions potentially could be aggregated, could all be asked of you tonight, depending on what council decides. So we will go ahead and open it up. The thought is that we would basically move forward with a vote that many of you have had the opportunity to interview with different council members. Many of you have had the opportunity to discuss things about yourselves with council members, and in whatever fashion they saw fit to proceed with this process. In that case, we have to narrow this down. There's no way, no time to do further interviews of all 16 candidates. So each of us have been provided a paper ballot, and in a few minutes, we will all make a selection as to who those top candidates are that each of us would like to see interviewed tonight to begin our first process of narrowing down. After that's done, we will move to an interview process. Those who are not selected may absolutely remain and continue to witness the process. Those who are selected will ask to be moved to a room and not use their cell phones at that time. And at the same time, they will be chosen out of a hat and will be able to be picked randomly on however many people are chosen to be interviewed. So let's do the math on this for a second. If each of the council members do 2 picks and they're different, then we could have 12 people we're interviewing. If each of the council members makes their 2 picks and they all the same 2 people, we could be interviewing 2 people and everything in between. So we have to figure out from there, let's say for sake of argument, we have 8 people picked after this first go around. You're marking your ballots as to who you would like to see interviewed. Those ballots will then be passed to the city clerk. The city clerk will tally them and put them up on the jumbo screens for all to see. So my question to you, council, is at this point, how would you like to move forward? Again, in my first idea was we have to decide, do we take the top 2 vote getters after moving past this first and after interviewing? Do we take the top 2 vote getters after we do 1 each? What do we do if we get a tie for first? Are those the top 2? What do we do if we get a tie for second or third? Do we take the top 2 out of those, have others come back into the room? What if someone gets 4 potential votes right off the bat after we do our interviewing process? So those are some of the details that we need to work out now so that each of the council candidates goes back into that room knowing how the process is going to be fulfilled in each subsequent vote and moving and narrowing things down. So what would you prefer? How would you like to do this?
Does legal counsel have any recommendations?
This process, councils do it differently all around. Whatever I think council feels most comfortable with, it might be best to take each one to take a vote and see how many applicants you're dealing with at that time, because you might have, you might have it down to 6 or 7 at that time, and it might be a very easy group to interview if the number's that. So it might be easiest to make your 2 votes and then talk more after you see what you have in front of you, however council wants to proceed.
Bridget, do you have something? Excuse me, Councilman Kimball.
Bridget's fine.
Okay.
So you had asked 4 questions. The first one, do we take the top 2 vote getters and move them to the finals? My answer would be yes.
Okay.
Second question, what
Now,
do we do if
just for
we...
clarification, that's after the interviewing process?
Correct.
Correct, okay. So, because each council member after the interviewing process is going to have another sheet with the people that have been selected at this point on it. So let's say it's those 8. Of those 8, we will then take a vote for one person at that time. Okay?
That was my understanding.
Yes.
The second question, what do we do if we get a tie for first? Are those the top 2? My answer would be yes, of course. If they both tied for first, that would be the top 2. We would then
Okay.
go and each pick one or whatnot.
Everyone
So,
agree with that?
for the second round.
Yes.
Okay?
Third question, what do we do if we get a tie for second? First 1, 2, or 3 people, do we take the top vote getter and the others and call them back in for some additional information, questioning, then move to discussion and vote again? I said take the top 2 only, meaning that if there's a tie for first, they are the top 2. If there's a tie for second, we vote right then for who's gonna be second place, and then we take whoever was 1 and whoever got the vote for the second place person. Those would be the top 2 moving forward. That was my response to that.
Okay. Council, what do you think about that? So if one person gets 3 votes, and the person, and well, let's make this different. Let's say one person gets 2, and the other one gets 1 and 1. Math isn't probably going to work out here, but let's say it does. Let's say there's 3. So 1, 1, 1, 1. What do we do at that point? Bridger's?
Second person?
Yeah, that second person. So what Councilman Kimball just said is that you would take a secondary vote for the second place to see if they move on to be with the top person so that we move into that
That's
vote.
correct.
Vice Mayor?
This will be a separate vote for second?
For a second, correct.
Okay.
I think that works.
Okay, so at that point, we'd take a quick vote on that and see whoever moves to that second place so that we can proceed on from those top 2. Okay? We agreed? Vice Mayor? Yes? Okay.
And
So the fourth question is, coming out of the interview process, after we've interviewed and we are each selecting one person at this time, what happens if someone out of there comes away with 4 votes? Because each of us are making 1 vote, just like we would on a regular council meeting. So if someone comes out with 4 votes and 1, do we call that it? Or do we still go back and interview the top 2? Ask them additional questions, follow up, whatever.
I would think we have 4 votes for 1. Go ahead and make a motion to appoint.
And I would think at any time during the meeting when we feel like we want to make a motion, we can make a motion. Am I correct, legal counsel?
I think once you get through the first round and then you get into the second round, yeah, I think it's fair to go forward, because then each one of you are voting 1 time. If one of those candidates gets 4 votes, I think the council can clearly say that person is selected.
Absolutely, and just so you know, I mean, the reason for going through those interviews is that was deference to Councilmember Brown, who had asked to make sure that we had, enough people to interview, narrowing down the process fairly.
Correct.
Councilman Kimball.
so, taking what has just been said, if one particular individual gets 4 votes, there's 4 overlapping votes on the initial ballot, we're still going to interview, correct?
Well, that would be mine.
On the
2
first
votes.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay?
But it's a council member's preference at any time to make a motion if they wish. That's the
Correct.
point I was trying to make.
Gotcha.
Right, but I think what we're trying to accomplish here is we're trying to create some levelness for these council candidates, because every one of us went about interviewing and doing our due diligence in a separate way, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. So I think, again, back to deference to Councilmember Brown, is that at least if we go through the interview process, that gives everybody a fair shot and gives the potential for swaying of minds as they are interviewed. So that was that thought. Do you agree or disagree?
Explain, I'm fine with everything except one. Explain to me, number 1, again.
Okay?
I'm sorry.
So after we've interviewed, again, let's say we have 8 people. After we've interviewed, we're going to select one of those 8.
After we've interviewed what and who?
The people that went through this first one with the 2 selections. So the first one, we're going to make 2 selections. We're going to interview, we're going to have discussion, then we're making a vote for
We're going to
one.
interview what, the top 8?
The top, whoever. So if you pick 2 and Leon picks 2 and I pick 2, let's say numbers-wise, we have some overlap on a few candidates.
Right.
Okay? Of that overlap, that boils down to either 2 people or 12 people or somewhere in between. So whoever's that in between, whatever it goes to, if it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's how many we interview. So it could be 8, could be 12, could be 10, could be 2.
Okay.
You okay with that?
You guys all right with it?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So I think we have it there. So now we just have one more thing to figure out here. And that is what we want to do is, if indeed we do get 8 people, if you figure 20 minutes a person in interviews, it's going to be a little bit, and that's okay. But if we get 4 people or 12 people, we have to keep the time on it. We can't afford to be here all night interviewing each candidate. So again, if we get 12 candidates, we can't say that each one's going to go 45 minutes. So the thought was that we would make it a 20-minute start and stop. From the time they come up here, start and stop. Now each council member submitted 2 questions. What we want to do is we want to give you the opportunity to see how well-rounded you are. And so each of us have submitted these top 2 questions. We each have them before us. No candidate has gotten a copy of those. And as such, we want to be able to ask them. Now, with 12 questions and 20 minutes to do it, you're going to have to think on your feet. You're going to have to be quick. I have the official time clock right here. Okay? Unless the Mac is wrong, I'll cut you off at 20 minutes. All right? So the idea being is that you have about a minute and a half to answer each question. We could do that too, but we want to make people think. So at the end of the day, it's up to council if you want to proceed with this. Now, there's any number of variables to this. You could adjust time limits, you could shorten them, you could greaten them, you could say we're taking out the questions. But the idea being that, having read all these questions, they're really good. They come from all different angles. And I think it provides an opportunity for the candidates to showcase themselves. That being said, though, however long you choose as a candidate to pontificate on any given question will directly determine whether you're able to receive all 12 questions. Now, whether that counts against you or not, it'll be to decide on each council member as they make their pick. But it's completely subjective in that. So the thought would be is if we did it like that, we could move this along every 20 minutes, and in 22 minutes we could have a new person in here and back up where they need to be and move along and get through however many come out of that first round. Thoughts on that? Adjustments to it? What are your feelings? Yes, Vice Mayor.
So just for clarification, when a candidate comes in, we're going to hand them this sheet
No.
with 12 questions?
No. You were going to ask them,
Oh.
and then we're going to ask the second one. So no one knows the questions until you ask it. And mind you, when you're asking them, all the other candidates are in another room sequestered. So the only one hearing the questions are the ones standing here.
And each of them are going to get 20 minutes?
Correct. So we will start, each of us did 2 questions. We will start with Leon or Bridger or whatever order we want to start in. We'll all go down with one, and then we'll come back to a second. Yes.
I'm just wondering, for the candidates' advantage, if as they walked in, we gave them the 12 questions and let them answer the questions that they feel that were a priority for their issues that they feel that they need to be faced, and then they can spend, okay, I want to spend 3 minutes on this answer, or I want to spend just a minute answering this one. They can prioritize this list instead of wasting time making us ask the questions up here.
Well, I think, but we still have to get the questions. It's on the public record. So whether we're doing this here, we have people watching at home. I know for sure that want to hear what the questions are. And the thought was if you ask that question, wouldn't you like to ask it? Preferably, I would like to ask my questions.
All the candidates are going to be outside, right?
Correct.
Why can't we put this up on the big screen?
Because the idea was not to give any one candidate an advantage of any way. And that includes what's coming next in the next question. And it is true, some of these questions will be difficult and hard to answer in a minute and a half. But that's the idea, is they have to tell you what's going to make them the most rounded in their eyes to you.
Okay.
Okay? Councilman?
I'm good with that, but I just had one question.
Yes.
Are they going in order of the sheet that we have
No.
in front of us? They're gonna be asked at random.
We can just decide to move up and down the
Start
council.
there and come this way, and then
that
when
way,
it's my
and
turn,
then-
I ask the question
correct.
that I had, okay.
And then next time, come back the other way, because remember, they may not hit all 12 questions. So we don't want to go the same way and have one person not get a chance to ask questions.
Then I had one comment
Mm-hmm.
for, like, if we started with Councilman Potter, and we're going down the list, and that particular candidate is taking a lot of time on one particular question,
Mm-hmm.
by the time it gets to me or gets back to Councilwoman Gussie, right, and she has 2 questions, and the time is running low, you would want to choose to ask the question that you would most want answered.
Correct.
At that point.
In your first
So I
one,
just
right.
wanted to make that.
Absolutely. So every person will ask one question, and then time permitting, the second questions will begin. Yes? Questions? Thoughts? Concerns? Yes?
For fairness, were you planning on having each council member ask the same question of every candidate? Or, because I was a little confused by Councilmember Kimball, are you saying that for candidate A, for example, you might do them in a different order than you would for candidate B?
That's the way I take it.
Yeah, and I don't think that would be unfair because every candidate has a time limit that would allow those questions to be asked. What would make that different is whether they didn't provide enough time back to us to ask those questions. So that way the option is open to everybody to make it equal across the board. Yes? Okay? All right. Anything else that we haven't discussed here?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just for the record, what we'll do is after you do your first vote and you narrow it down from between 2 to 12, as you stated, then I have here the names. We will put them in the hat. I will draw them and then announce to Vanessa as I pull them out. That'll be the order in which the folks will be interviewed.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or concerns that we need to talk about now? Okay. So, Vanessa, are you clear on what we're doing? Because that would be bad if our city clerk's not even clear. Exactly. If anyone's not clear, please raise your hand. All right. Okay, we have some unclear people. So just for good measure, here we go. Run through it real fast. So each of us have this list. We're going to decide on this list, and the 16 candidates that sit before us are going to be narrowed down right off the bat. Okay. Those that are picked from 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 are going to be asked to remain. Everyone else can move back and watch the rest of the proceedings. Those that are picked, we'll now move straight over to Brenda. She will pick the names out of the hat. That will determine the order. First person will stay. The others will go into another room and be sequestered. We will interview each person. After we've interviewed each person, we will then move to discussion. After discussion, we'll take another vote on a page like this with the remaining candidates. It will be for one person each. That will take us down to where we go from there, whether it's, do we have 4? Do we need to bring in the top 2 off of that one that we just did? And that will allow us to move forward. Okay? That's right. I just need to talk a little faster. All right, perfect. With that, I just wanted to make a statement to everybody that, we have 17 candidates vying for this position. I don't care which way you look at it, but at the end of the day, that's very positive. I think you should know that regardless of whether you're picked or not, I appreciate the fact that you took the time to put your name in the hat. Your information has been public. It's been out there for all to see and to be vetted. Some of you have had the opportunity to interview or discuss things with council members in different fashions. I don't believe any of those questions here today are going to reflect that interview. They'll be of other things that we didn't get to ask. And so I just want you to know that, the council members have been very hush-hush on this. Nobody has discussed anything with others. And so we're trying to make this as open and transparent as possible. The other thing that's important to note is that this has never been done like this before here in Maricopa. We're trying to set a tradition. As I talked to so many other cities on how they did it, so many of them said, well, our tradition is X. Well, we don't have a tradition yet. We have ways that we've done it, but we're trying to make this one of the most open ways. And so that being said, is we're trying to formulate traditions. It's not a perfect process. We're going to find out tonight what worked and what didn't, and we're going to go back and we're going to revamp it so that if the next time ever happens, which inevitably it will, we'll be more prepared and be able to come in and say, this is our tradition. This is the way we've done it. So again, thank you very much, and I hope that no matter what happens, each of you that I spoke with, which is every single one of you, told me the same thing. Everyone told me that you might be disappointed when you walk out of here tonight, but that you all believe you can work with other people. And I firmly believe that that is true. So I hope you'll continue to be active in the city, that you will continue to possibly think about running in 2014, and that, you go through the process and do what we've had to do to get here and, become an excellent member of the city one way or another. We have so many committees and other things we want to do, and we can't do it without your help. You've already proven that you're willing to do it by being here tonight, and we continue to ask that you would continue on with that. Council members, anything else you'd like to say?
I'd like to add something, if I may.
Yes.
I had the opportunity to meet with all 16 one-on-one, face-to-face, so I want to thank all of you for going through the process and submitting your applications and giving me that time to meet with you. So I feel I have a better feel of all of you, and again, thank you for giving me that opportunity. And again, we can only appoint one. But in all fairness, I wanted to meet every one of you and get a little better idea in this circumstance. So thanks again for everything that you've done and going forward, and good luck to all of you.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, with that, each of you have a piece of paper in front of you with all the candidates on it. It's at this time in which you'll make your 2 selections, fold it up, and hand it to the city clerk or Brenda that will come around and pick them up from you. I believe all of them have been turned in, so at this point we'll wait for the tabulation. And those that are selected will be asked to remain.
Some music or something.
I know. Jeopardy music. Okay. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It was great, though. It went really well. Yeah, it went really uncomfortable, right? Oh, it was so much fun. Paul was nervous as heck. He hated fun. But he came and it was so much fun. Chairman Manuel was there. He's like, I'm turning on my GPS in case anyone pushes me out. It was fun. Heck of a time. Just what I said. A lot of numbers. 16 down to some overlap, some don't. Not in the first go round. Because people use it as a strategy to say, well, I want to see this person, I want to see that person, I want at least have them interview. You know. This is great. Yep. I know. The joy of this position, being the bad guy, no matter what you do. That's right. Once you accept that, it becomes easier. Yep. Okay, I'd love to. Yep. Was it? I have lunch scheduled with him in a week or two. Do you mind if I have lunch with him first before you call him up or set it up?
One or two of the candidates, they won't leave 20 minutes. They cut short their answers.
And they don't go the full 20?
Yeah.
Then they're really done, and that'll help us accelerate the time schedule, I think.
We would hope that'd be the case.
Yeah. You can keep them, but it's better to make sure they never get out there. Yeah. They just don't have to be public record, that's all. Okay. Okay. Okay, but we need to have, what's that? Yeah, or we just need to have the tally because some of them have merged. I don't want to go through those and have the same person twice. Thank you. Okay. Is Ruben ready? Or I'm going to go ahead and read these. Okay. These are about to pull up on the screen as to who voted in which fashion. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and read them. We have Jeffrey Blevins, Scott Blevins, Peggy Chapados, Lee Fielis, Rachel LaFall, Rosalinda O'Hare, Marlene Pierce, Sean Schlegel, and Phyllis von Fleckinger. Those are those who have been selected for the interview process. Just so you know, as I read up here on the first selection versus second selection, there's no distinction between the two on this sheet. It's simply a 1 and 2, so you obviously just go down the list, and there's no distinction there. So that being said, let's go ahead and have those that are going to be sequestered come over here and stand by Paul. Well, don't. Do you want to leave yet, or do you want her to pull first? Yeah, let's randomly pull first out of the hat and determine the order. The rest of you are obviously welcome to remain, so we appreciate it. Yes. We'd also ask that if you wouldn't mind leaving your cell phones with Paul. So Paul's going to have a whole horde of new cell phones. Please don't leave without them.
Put it on the loudest ringer you have.
Or do you want to keep track? Actually, we have some board. You can have it on the screen ticking down so that you can get a better idea of your time. Either way is fine.
No, let me keep it.
Sounds good.
Rosalinda O'Hare. So she's going to stay. Yeah, she'll be first. She'll speak
Good one.
first, so you can stay. Rachel LaFall. Rachel LaFall, second. Lee Buss. Lee. Them in order. Scott Blevins. You can stay. You can stay because you're first. Sean Schlegel. Peggy?
Oh, I don't have mine. Guess that'd be helpful. Good job.
Yes.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Trying to close it up?
Yeah, don't do it. That's not fair. Come on, don't do it. Let's be fair. The first person we have coming in? Rosalinda. Okay, so the next question, council, is do you want to put them up here? You want them to stand for 20 minutes, do the Socratic method, or how do you want to do this? Guess it might be fun. I mean, from an interviewing standpoint, there's a camera focused right there, so let's have Rosalinda come on up.
And Mr.
Number
Mayor,
one.
that also helps for recording purposes.
Okay.
too.
Perfect. All right, I won't start the timer here yet, Rosalinda. Would you state your name for the record?
My name is Rosalinda O'Hare.
Thank you. All right, are we ready, council? We will start at this end. You're going to ask one of your top question, just in case there's not enough time, and we're going to start and just go around all the way. Time is of the essence, and I will give each candidate a 2-minute warning. So I will let you know when you have 2 minutes left. All right, go ahead, Leon.
Mrs. O'Hare, excluding yourself, of the remaining applicants or candidates for council member, who would you appoint and why?
Sean Schigel, and the reason is because he is the only one that I know. I don't know any of the other applicants that applied.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council, Vice Mayor Farrell.
Rosalinda, my question's more of a curiosity question. We just had an election just 6 months ago. And 6 months ago, there were 3 seats open on this council, and there were only 4 candidates for that election. And just 6 short months later, we've got 17 applicants for 1 seat. Why, if your desire is to be a council member up here, why didn't you put your name in the hat 6 months ago and run for the last election?
As you know, I own Penasco's Mexican restaurant. At that time, it wasn't ready for me to get involved. Having a business, my business runs itself now. I have 2 managers in the front of the house, 2 managers in the back. I have 25 employees, and I have my business set up in a system where now it's time for me to get involved. It is also time for me to get involved because I have also been observing the city, and I just feel that because of the fact that my business is running itself, I've always had the passion, though, to be involved with the city, to be in the city council. I just feel that now is the time with my business.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. O'Hare. Although fully entitled to your own thoughts and opinions on where and how the city should move forward, you are also part of a 7-member team which must work together regardless of these differences of opinion to accomplish the greater good of serving all of our 45,000 residents. Considering this statement and our limited resources, our available options, and the overall big picture, where and what do you think this council is trying to accomplish, and how would you be an effective part of that team?
I feel that the council is trying to accomplish, of course, to make Maricopa better, of course. I also, can you repeat that? I'm sorry, you kind of lost me a little bit.
You know, considering our available options, the overall big picture, and where and what do you think this council is trying to accomplish, and how would you be an effective part of that plan?
Okay. I feel at the city council, you guys are all have passion about building Maricopa, of course. That's why you guys are involved. I feel that there is a void within the city council. We do not have anyone in the city council right now that has a business in Maricopa, a service-type business that provides a service to 45,000 residents. I feel that being a business owner, being in business since 2006, I've been able to survive, especially in 2009. My business started in debt, and I am proud to say that I am debt-free. I feel that with my business experience, being able to be a leader of a business, a startup, these negotiations, construction, business plan, analysis, tracking, I feel that I can contribute to the city council because of the fact that there is a lack when it comes to representation for businesses. And I feel that with the knowledge that I have and being able, that I've survived, that I would be able to contribute to the city council.
Perfect, thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Ms. O'Hara, how do you determine or evaluate success, and what do you think it would take to make the city successful?
Can you repeat that again, please?
How do you evaluate or determine success, and what do you think it would take to make the city successful?
I determine success by being able to identify a goal, set up a plan, and being able to accomplish it. And I have been able to do that. I feel that with the city, as far as how I can contribute to that, or where is that going to lead the city? I'm sorry, with the question.
How do you determine yourself? How do you determine or evaluate success? What measurements do you use?
Being able to identify a goal and being able to start something and finish it and show the results. That's how I determine success.
Okay, Councilwoman?
Now, if you're selected as the interim council member, how much time do you plan to dedicate to this position?
My business runs itself. I have my business set up on cameras, and like I mentioned earlier, that I have management that runs the business. I'm my own boss, so I could put the time into the city council.
Thank you.
Rosalinda, what do you believe are the two most critical decisions the city council has had to make over the past year?
The two critical decisions. I honestly cannot answer that.
Okay.
I'm sure the budget should be a big decision, the budget, and hopefully business retention.
Excellent. Councilman Kimball, would you like to ask your second question? We'll go back the other way.
All right. Describe a leadership role, present or past, you had at work or volunteer, school, church, civic, or other activities, which demonstrates the qualities you would bring to city leadership, and please provide an example of how your specific leadership in that role made a difference in addressing or resolving a particularly challenging matter or issue.
Can the leadership be a present?
It can.
Okay. I am the leader of my restaurant. I have a range of 15 to 25 employees. I set up all the process. I delegate. My job is to recognize the direction of the business, what it lacks, and what needs to be focused on. And I feel that as a leader, that I have strong qualities when it comes to delegation and to identifying a problem and to tracking past history.
Awesome, thanks.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman?
I'm going to select one of yours. The city's strategic plan has 5 key priorities to achieve. To achieve all of them at once, including economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation, public safety, and quality municipal services. If you had to pick just one of those priorities to focus on exclusively, which one would you select and why?
Can you repeat them again, please?
The 5 are economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation, public safety, and quality municipal services.
The economic is what I would support. And the reason is because I feel that there is always going to be social programs in government. And I think that it's important that we recognize that we need to generate revenue within the city.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman
You're
Brown?
welcome.
Describe a time you had to deal with a difficult situation, including how you dealt with it and the outcome.
Before I opened up my restaurant caught on fire. It caught on fire in October. It was before my grand opening. Very difficult for me. We had a goal set. We had our rent was going to be due. The way I dealt with it, I have recognized as a CEO of a company is that it is important not to become emotional and to try to be solution-oriented, to put all the pros and cons out there. And for me, for my business, when it caught on fire, I just had to, my husband and I sat down and we just figured out what was going to be the best solution and how we were going to strategize. It's all about strategy.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. O'Hara, in order to be an efficient and effective city council member, one must have a very clear understanding of what it means to operate within the legal parameters set by federal and state laws, as well as our own city code. Please explain how you as a council member will balance operations and communications in our city council, city manager form of government.
Well, I think it's really important for me to observe and to understand. I do have a lot of experience taking classes. I have my bachelor's degree in accounting. Therefore, I feel that if I am given the information, that I am able to learn as far as all the different policies. But I think that for the beginning, it would just take observation to be able to understand exactly how I would be able to handle that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice Mayor.
Was that your question?
And I know that we talked about in the application the 3 issues you see in the city. My question to you is, what are the 3 main obstacles that you see the city facing today?
Transportation, economic growth, business retention.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Potter?
What does being a leader mean to you?
Being a leader, to me, with experience with my company, I feel that it is important that we inspire people. We are supposed to, a leader is supposed to be the example. You are to inspire people, motivate them, encourage them, and to teach them, guide them. That is being a leader.
Okay. Thank you, Rosalinda. We appreciate it
You're
very
welcome.
much.
You're
You did it in
welcome.
record time, 11 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Also been the longest so far, too.
I'm sorry. Is there anything that we can say on our own?
Yeah, I mean, you have a little bit extra time. If you'd like
Okay.
to take 2 minutes, you're more than welcome to.
I feel that right now with the city
Oh,
council.
excuse me, I apologize. Go ahead. I apologize.
I just wanted to double check, are you going to be able to do that for all 8 that are interviewing? Because
That's a good question.
I remember when we had talked.
I suppose if they have time left over, as she does.
If the council agrees to that?
Okay, but what if they don't? I just don't want to make it look like it's not fair or something, so just something to think about.
Yeah. So council, what are your agreements on
I
that?
really can't imagine any candidate taking 20 minutes.
Gotcha.
Oh, I can.
But that's on the
We're
individual.
not asking them to interpret War and Peace.
Yeah, but that's on the individual candidate. If the candidate desires to take a long time, then they're not going to have the time left over to ask questions.
We
So
didn't
it's
talk
just-
about that in the beginning.
Mr. Mayor, I think you candidate, when you start the clock, let them know that if they get through the questions, you're ready.
They'll have extra time. Okay. Okay. That sounds, are you okay with that? Everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
So based on the fact you have multiple minutes, but we'll give you 2, so we'll give no one longer than 2 minutes. Is that fair?
Yes.
So there, okay. So by all means, give us 2 minutes. I'll give you 2
I
minutes.
want you all to know that I am passionate about Maricopa. My family invested a lot of money to have a business here in this community. I also am very involved in the community by donations and sponsorships. My company has taken part in a lot of different organizations that are in need. I also want you guys to know that I am not part of any cliques. I'm not part of any types of groups. I don't know anyone as far as in the politics within Maricopa. I am just a business owner. But I feel that I would do a great job in representing businesses and bringing that to the table. And I hope that you guys consider that we have a void the business with not having a business owner that provides a service to the residents of Maricopa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. O'Hara. We appreciate it. You're welcome to stay and observe the other candidates. Rachel, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
Rachel LaFault.
Rachel LaFall. Rachel, I haven't started the timer yet. Just wanted to give you some info. We're going to give you a 2-minute warning. Like I said, you have 20 minutes if you have a 2-minute warning. If you finish the questions ahead of time before your full 20 minutes, we'll also give you the option of speaking for 2 additional minutes in some form of a statement or any closing remarks you'd have. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and start with Councilmember Kimball.
Hi.
What do you believe are the 2 most critical decisions the city council has had to make over the past year?
Over the past year. I would say that the first one is to go ahead with the full build-out on the multi-gen center. And then the second would be that's a good question. I'd say the budget. Because we've had some trying times with the budget and just making the decision not to spend all the funds that we have in surplus and holding on to those so that we can utilize those for other programming. I think that was a tough decision because a lot of cities have decided to dig into those surplus funds, and knowing that those were one-time funds as opposed to general funds that will continue to be ingested into the city's funds. I think the city deciding to hold off on spending those was wise, because now we have those funds to utilize for other expenditures.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman.
All right, if you're selected as the new interim council member, how much time do you plan to dedicate to this position? I'm prepared to dedicate as much time as needed for the position. I have allocated the time. I've spoken with several of the council members prior to the position even being posted, asking what the time requirements were, and I'm fully ready to step in and put in as much time as that's required. Thank you, Mayor Gus.
Councilman.
Describe a time you had to deal with a difficult situation, including how you dealt with it, and what was the outcome?
I would say that more recently, as I was completing my graduate degree, I served transfer students, and I helped them with their transition to the University of Arizona. And in that, it's an underrepresented student population, so I would have to advocate on behalf of these students to the different departments within the campus, as well as the Vice President of Student Affairs. And because they were not recognizing that student population, it was a challenge just generating awareness. But the way that I dealt with it was each time I attended a forum or a special meeting or was assigned to a task force, I helped them to understand that we had to change the verbiage and the way that we addressed students, because they were no longer just freshman students who were attending higher education. It's all students. So just changing the verbiage to refer to students as incoming students as opposed to just freshmen also included that non-traditional student population. So it was a benefit to help change the mindset.
Okay. So although fully entitled to your own thoughts and opinions on where and how the city should move forward, you are also part of a 7-member team, which must work together regardless of these differences of opinion to accomplish the greater good of serving all of our 45,000 residents. So here's the question. Considering this statement, our limited city resources, our available options, and the overall big picture, what and where do you think this council, or where and what do you think this council is trying to accomplish, and how would you be an effective part of that team?
Mayor Price, could you please repeat
Sure.
the question portion?
Sure.
Thank
Considering our limited resources, our available options, and the overall big picture, where do you think this council is trying, or what do you think this council is trying to accomplish? How would you be an effective part of that team?
I believe that the council is trying to accomplish continued progression for the city of Maricopa, and I believe that I would be an asset to that because I see the vision. I know that we're not where we want to be, but we're headed in the right direction. And I am fully prepared to be a team player and understand that we all have our separate opinions But as long as we respect each other and we respect the fact that we're working toward the better good of the community as well as the city, then we can work together and accomplish those goals.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir, yes. Rachel,
Yes.
what are the three main obstacles that you see the city facing today? Not issues, but obstacles.
I think the first obstacle would be a lot of our residents don't fully understand the direction that the city is taking. That's one. The second would be that there's not enough awareness outside of the city of Maricopa from other cities, other counties within the state of Arizona. So without that recognition, it's difficult for us to fully appreciate and expand our economic development programs. And then the third obstacle, I would say, would be some of our federal government mandates with 347 and the railroad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember.
Excluding yourself, of the remaining applicants, candidates for the council member position, who would you appoint and why?
Excluding myself. I was asked this question before, and my answer was Peggy Chapagos, because when I initially moved to Maricopa, she was very active in the community and had taken the initiative to implement some programming that served the anti-graffiti program, and she's just been active for the duration of the time that I've been here, and I respect the fact that she always takes the initiative to serve the community.
Okay.
And the next question?
Absolutely.
What does being a leader mean to you?
What does being a leader mean to me? Was that the question?
Yes.
Being a leader means effectively serving in a capacity that allows others to follow. It sets a standard. It isn't an authoritative position, but more of a responsibility with accountability. Effective leadership means putting personal biases to the side and understanding that there's a greater good, and working also as a team and accepting constructive criticism and suggestions so that common goals can be accomplished. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
The city's strategic plan has 5 key priorities to achieve all at once, including economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation, public safety, and quality municipal services. If you had to pick one of those exclusively as a priority, which one of those would you pick?
Economic development.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Rachel, in order to be an efficient and effective city council member, one must have a very clear understanding of what it means to operate within the legal parameters set by the federal and state laws, as well as our own city code. Please explain how you as a council member will balance operations and communications in our city council, city manager form of government.
Well, we have a code in place. I've read the city code. I will continue to refer to the city code before taking any actions. I would work with our city manager as well as our staff and make sure that I am also adhering to state and federal guidelines. For me, that's a no-brainer, because we have to make sure that we are aware that we're being scrutinized, and we have to adhere to the policies that are in place. We have to adhere to the state constitution, we have to adhere to federal guidelines, and we also have to make sure that we're working with our city staff, because we are operating under the city council and city manager form of government. So I would absolutely adhere to those policies, and I value the importance of it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
Rachel, how do you determine or evaluate success? And what do you think it would take to make the city successful?
Could you please, I missed the first part of the question.
How do you determine or evaluate success?
Evaluate.
And what do you think it would take to make the city successful?
I determine and evaluate success by using assessment measures. And the first thing is to have a plan. And once that plan is in place, then as the strategic plan is put into place and the city council is moving forward, then there's basically a checklist. And I think that's the best way, assessment of all measures, because that helps us to determine whether or not we're moving in the right direction, whether things that we plan are working, because sometimes we're moving in one direction and it's like spinning wheels, and there's no need to continue on that path if you're not going anywhere. So I fully believe that we have to continuously assess different programs and different procedures so that we make sure that we're able to actually complete our plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Rachel, the strategic plan has 5 key priorities: economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation,
Oh,
public safety.
Councilwoman?
Yes.
I believe Councilmember Farrell asked that question already in this
I'm so
go-around.
sorry, but some point on my list too. All right. In order to be efficient,
3 minutes. You asked obstacles?
we had asked us to repeat your question
Sorry.
because our question was repeated.
Right, but there's still 12
Okay,
total,
I'll-
so.
I'll ask the
which-
question that we
Which
both
one did you not
duplicated.
ask?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. If you had an original desire to be on the city council, why didn't you run for a seat to the election that was just given 6 months ago? Given that we had a city council election for 3 seats for a few months ago, why did you not submit a packet to run for council then?
Thank you. I was completing my master's degree program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Describe a leadership role, present or past, you had at work or volunteer, school, church, civic, or other activities, which demonstrates the qualities you would bring to city leadership. Provide an example of how your specific leadership in that role made a difference in addressing or resolving a particularly challenging matter or issue.
Okay. I'm going to use a role, it was a new role, and I served as the chairperson for the Thurgood Marshall Leadership Forum. The greatest challenge was that it was a new organization, and it was to effectively train students, college students, on service learning, and serving in the community as well. And the biggest challenge that I faced was to basically entice the students and ask them how did they feel about the community? What could they do to make a difference? And it was very thought-provoking because a lot of people don't think that way. They had a lot of complaints about things that were going on, but I was able to help them to turn those complaints into solutions. And what I did was I utilized my business relationships within the community and just started having programming, awareness programming, and connecting the students with different organizations in the city so that they can be could be an impact, make an impact. And the greatest success from it was that when the students actually graduated from college, they were able to go in and have these opportunities for volunteerism that some were converted into full-time jobs, and changing career paths to being more focused on the monetary gains to being more focused on serving in the community.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. We've gone through all the questions at this time, and you have a few extra minutes, so if you'd like to go, you have 2 minutes to say something else, anything you'd like to say to the council.
Okay, well, I'd just like to say that I feel that my experience in governmental affairs with working on the local, state, and federal level has prepared me to serve in this capacity. I believe that my involvement in the city of Maricopa from just a couple weeks after moving here, I was able to learn how the city functions. I've worked with past council members. I've served on the Relay for Life as the accounting chair, just being really involved with new programs that are coming into the city, and then just taking it upon myself to just go around the community and talk to people and listen to what they have to say, and bringing those, some of those suggestions to forums where I can speak with city staff or even some of our council members, and just having an understanding of the vision that we have in the city of Maricopa, and just being a really proud resident of the city, understanding that we're going places. We're not where we want to be, but we're definitely on the right path to get there. And I'm fully prepared to step right in, work with the team, and understanding that, again, we do have different opinions, but we're all here for one purpose, and that's to serve the common good of our city. And one of the most important things that I feel is that some of our decisions as city council members are challenging, and not all of our residents understand them, but we're charged to make sure that the information is there and that there's an understanding of why the decisions were made. Because while we're serving the residents, we also have to make sure that the city is sustained and continues to grow. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you.
Who is this?
Lee Fielis. Lee?
How are you?
Welcome. I appreciate you coming. Just a couple of real quick things before you start here. I'm going to give you, if you should go the full 20 minutes, I'm going to give you a 2-minute warning so you know what's coming. Also, should you complete the answers to your questions before the end of time, each of the candidates has been given an opportunity to make a statement, but you have 2 minutes or whatever time you have left.
Fantastic.
So, okay? With that, if you'd state your name for the record if you didn't do so already, and we'll start on that end.
Excellent.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of council, my name is Lee Fielis.
Perfect. Proceed, Councilmember.
Lee, what do you believe are the 2 most critical decisions the city council has had to make over the past year?
Great question. Admittedly, I haven't been as involved over the past year as I'd like to have been. Really been focusing on the quality of my business. I think that the procedures and policies with regard to the Multi-Gen Center, as it relates to the quality of life and professionalism that this community can expect, is very, very important. I think that the position of city manager, who helps operate with staff, communicate with the city council, is something that is very seriously at the top of my head. So those particular items are things that I care very much about. The relationship of the city with the citizens, the relationship with the council, and the city manager. Those are 2 things that I think are very important.
Thank you.
Councilwoman.
The city's strategic plan has 5 key priorities to achieve all at once, including economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation, public safety, and quality municipal services. If you had to pick just one of these priorities to focus on exclusively, which one would you select and why?
Sustainability. I've been a member of a lot of communities, large and small. Lived in Los Angeles for a while, spent some time in Phoenix, lived a lot of time in Tucson. I've seen how cities grow way faster than their communities are prepared for. I think that the city needs to be very careful about making sure that they are ready to make the expansions and do the things that are going to support the city without getting too far ahead of itself with regard to infrastructure, things like that. Sustainability, getting good quality, high-paying jobs where people can live here and work here and participate as community members, very important.
Thank you. Councilman.
Lee, how do you determine or evaluate success? And what do you think it would take to make the city successful?
I think that my biggest measure of success would be whether or not people want to live here, people want to participate and be part of the community, whether or not people on staff want to work here and be part of what's happening in the community, contribute. The city needs to be professional. It needs to have a high-quality image and a brand name that people recognize as a quality place to live and work and participate as a citizen. That's my measure of success.
Great, thank you. Now I'm going to repeat a part of this, but I'm asking it the same way to all the candidates. So, although fully entitled to your own thoughts and opinions on where and how the city should move forward, you are also part of a 7-member team, which must work together regardless of these differences of opinion to accomplish the greater good of serving all the 45,000 people. Considering this statement, our limited resources, our available options, and the overall big picture, where and what do you think this council is trying to accomplish, and how would you be a part of that team? So again, what do you think we're trying to accomplish, and how would you be an effective part of that team?
When you, am I permitted to ask, understand the question a little bit?
Sure.
When you say the city is trying, the council is trying to accomplish, do you mean overall in general, or do you mean specifically here?
Considering our resources, considering the different polls on us as a council, the different interests, how do you see the big picture? And how do you fit into that?
Well, I would hope that the big picture would be that the city council wants to maintain, provide very high, again, just I'm a little bit repeating myself, a very high quality of life, that they are responsive to the citizens. If you look at the citizen survey, everybody seems to be generally very happy with the direction of the city growth, generally very happy with the responsiveness of the council. And I think that this council is in a position to be really great leaders in getting the community to understand what is going to be the right thing for growth. I think that's the role. The role is leadership.
Okay. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Excuse me. We just had an election 6 months ago, and in that election, there were 3 seats open, and only 4 candidates ended up running for that election. And here we are just 6 short months later, and we've got 17 applicants applying for one appointed position. Curiosity question, if you're interested in sitting up on this council seat, why didn't you put your name in the hat 6 months ago for the last election?
Unfortunately, it's not really a very fair question to me. I am extremely glad that it has been asked. I was not eligible at that time. Only been a resident here for 1 year, this week, in fact. So, all things being equal, I just wasn't eligible at the time. However, I took over a business here that was very much in need of leadership, very much in need of someone who cared about the participants in that business. And I have dedicated the last 2 years working in this business here in Maricopa to build that up. And now I find myself in a position to, because the business has been fairly successful now that I've kind of turned it around, to be able to step out and fulfill my oath to service the community as I can. So technically I wasn't eligible then, but putting that aside, I put myself in a position now. It's been 1 year. The first opportunity that comes available, I'm jumping into it. So that's it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Councilman.
Excluding yourself, of the remaining applicants, candidates for the council member position, who would you appoint and why?
Boy, that's a tough question. My answer is, I don't know. And the reason why I don't know is because I haven't had the opportunity to speak with them and figure out what their vision is, what their leadership potential is. Every candidate who submitted an application has some very good qualities about them. People who have had relationships with other governmental agencies, people who have been sitting on committees. I would really feel uncomfortable answering that question specifically in that I would like to get to know them as many of you have had the opportunity to do. Sit down with them, understand what their vision is, and really get a clear idea of what they represent before I would say, yeah, you're the person to do it. So, everybody has their qualities. I like their qualities, but I would need to know more about them individually.
Okay, and then a follow-up question, what does being a leader mean to you?
Oh, good question. Being a leader, listening, understanding, communicating, discussing with respect, compromise when necessary, move forward. Got to work together. Okay? Leadership means bringing people together and understanding first. You got to listen first, speak second, discuss with passion, and understand each other. That's what really being a leader means.
Lee,
Sir.
what are the 3 main obstacles that you see the city facing today? Not issues, but obstacles.
Obstacles. Based on my conversations with citizens since I put in my application, number 1 obstacle I see is consistency in high-level staff. Making sure that people want to work here and are able to fulfill the goals of the council and the direction of the city manager, number 1. Obstacle is if there is no good quality jobs, quality work environment. Okay? I think that the economy right now is giving us some hard times, but some good opportunities. We need to make sure that we're taking advantage of those opportunities. Number 3 obstacle, sustainability, looking forward, making sure that all of the things that are being done, which I think city council, city manager, the city in general is doing very well, getting in some good quality of life amenities, things like that. But, getting to the multi-gen center, over the tracks, it's going to be an issue. Things like that have to get done. The government, there's some work that has to be done with higher level governments and things like that. So I think communication on that level needs to be very, very open. People need to be ready and looking forward to what's going to be the result of the decisions that we make and getting ready for that. So quality, consistent staff, dedicated to the vision, good quality of life, making sure that there's technology or manufacturing jobs available here long-term, and sustainability to make sure that people are able to experience all the things that the city council is bringing, that the city manager is bringing, and the city of whole is providing the vision for.
Okay. Thank you. Lee, in order to be an efficient and effective city council member, one must have a very clear understanding of what it means to operate within the legal parameters set by the federal and state laws as well as our own city code. Please explain how you, as a city councilman, will balance operations and communication in our city council, city manager form of government.
Well, I think the number 1 thing for me as an individual is making sure that I've got all the information that I need to ensure that I'm operating within those standards. I know that there's training available, things like that. I think that the city council in general has some experienced members who I would very much look forward to looking to for guidance on how to do those things. We have a city attorney. We have resources. We have, all the information about elected officials and how the city operates. But for me, I think the biggest thing, being kind of new to the process and new to the community, is to keep my eyes open and listen and learn from the people who know better than I. And I think that's important for leadership as well. You've got to be ready to listen.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Lee, describe a time you had to deal with a difficult situation and include how you dealt with that situation and what was the outcome.
Oh, good question. One of the, boy, I'm going to give you a professional response. One of the most difficult situations I had was dealing with a student who had dedicated a very large amount of time to training, specifically for the rank of black belt. And it came to pass that this student didn't really have all of the necessary life skills, integrity, to obtain that. And I actually had to ask her to leave my school. And she was extremely upset about that, extremely upset, yelling and screaming in my office, and it weighed on me for a very long time. What I had to do was be professional, enforce the standards that were in place for the good of everyone, not just for her, not just for me. Listen and understand, empathize, but enforce the rules. And the situation did not end well. She left the school and never appreciated what had been done. But what I learned from that is you need to make sure that you're communicating everything ahead of time, that everybody is clear on the rules and your intentions, and kind of moving from there. I learned that you have to talk, and you have to help people understand before it becomes a problem, not after it becomes a problem. That's the key.
Thank you. Councilwoman.
Now, if you are selected as a new interim council member, how much time do you plan to dedicate to this position?
I plan to dedicate as much as is necessary. I have a business now that is running well, people who I can trust to continue the vision that I've given to my students myself. And I can step out and do a little bit giving back to the community. My job is to receive communications, dedicate as much time as I need to understand those communications, and respond to them effectively. Council meetings twice a month, work sessions, groundbreakings, all these things that go on in the community. I think that being a real leader means sacrificing for everybody's good. Okay? Being part of the group, not just somebody who sits outside and says, I'm only going to do the things that are here and there or whatever else. Okay? You got to get involved. So, I would like to do as much as I can to communicate with the community, understand what they need, communicate with the council and understand what their positions are. Dedicate the time that is necessary to do those things. You need to understand first, then I can respond second. Okay? I've got my research. This is what I do. Okay? Get it, print it, read it, understand it. If you don't understand, ask questions, be prepared. That's it.
Councilman.
Lee, describe a leadership role, present or past, you had at work, volunteer, school, church, civic, or other activities, which demonstrates the qualities you would bring to city leadership. Provide an example of how your specific leadership in that role made a difference in addressing or resolving a particularly challenging matter or issue.
That's fantastic. Most of my leadership role has been in the context of the martial arts training. I was responsible for running competitions, tournaments in Arizona for several years. I received a Regional Appreciation Award for my leadership in that. I had a lot of people, hundreds of people, thousands of people, hundreds of families, thousands of kids, who trusted me to make a decision that was going to be the best and most fair thing for their students in a competition environment. And if you know anything about soccer moms, karate moms are just the same. Parents are very concerned about the quality of what their children are receiving. My job is to make sure that that quality is very high. The challenging part of that is that people who are under you,
2 minutes, Lee.
who are under my direction, don't always follow that same vision. Don't always understand that their job is to be professional. So I need to make sure that I'm communicating well with them as a liaison between the staff and the community, as it were. Keep that communication open and do the things that are based on the vision that we have and the rules that are set in place. Okay, so that's really my leadership experience, is that communication between people who are on other sides. Students, the referees. How do you get them all to make sure that they're not punching each other in the head? Very important.
Some karate without.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But that's what I bring. I bring that communication. I bring that leadership. Got hundreds of families that I built relationships with, kids all over the state of Arizona that trust me. I want to bring that to the whole community, not just the kids in my school, not just the families that I service.
Thank you. We have about 1 minute left. If you'd like to address us with anything else you felt you left out.
Well, you know, again, I haven't been doing all the things, sitting on all the committees. I'm not a technical expert. I have a degree in civil engineering. I understand the processes. I've been through the permitting process. I've been through the community development. I understand how that all works. But that's not my expertise. My expertise is in leadership. My expertise is in communication, being able to listen and work with other people for the betterment of my community. I have a 9-month-old son. I have my parents who live with me that are 60 and 70 years old. Okay? So I really care about this home that I'm building for myself. Okay? And that's what I want to bring to council.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, council members.
Good afternoon, Scott, or evening. Guess it's dark outside now.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming this afternoon.
Thank you.
A couple of things here, just before we get started, is that, you know, I'm going to give you a 2-minute warning if you go towards the full 20 minutes, as well as should you have some extra time at the end, I'll give you the opportunity to make a statement to the council, fill in things you felt you weren't able to say until the full 20 minutes expires, or 2 minutes, whichever's lesser there. So, with that, would you state your name for the record, please?
Jeffrey Scott Blevins.
Thank you. You prefer to be called Scott?
Yes.
Okay. Scott, we'll start at, which end did I start at last time? I don't remember. Your turn? Your turn. Your turn. Run with it, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Blevins, excluding yourself, of the remaining applicants, candidates for the open council member position, who would you appoint?
As I told you in our meeting, I didn't look at anybody else's resume or any of their background because I felt like although I am a competitor, I felt like at this time it wasn't important to do so. So I believe that the city council is in a position to put the best person in the position of the vacant spot. Being a citizen of this county, or a citizen of this city, I believe that's what I expect of you as a voter. So therefore, I put myself in this position, hopefully to be appointed by the council.
Vice Mayor.
Scott,
Hi.
how are you? The city's strategic plan has 5 key priorities to achieve all at once, including economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation, public safety, and quality municipal services. If you had to pick just one of those priorities and make it exclusive, which one of those priorities would it be?
Quality of life.
Thank you.
Okay. Scott, in order to be an efficient and effective city council member, one must have a very clear understanding of what it means to operate within the legal parameters that are set by the federal and state laws, as well as our own city code. So please explain how you as a council member will balance operations and communications in our city council, city manager form of government.
Well, what I believe is constant communication is a very important issue. Keeping things open to the public and working with the current city employees is something that we need to do. Not saying that that has not been done, but I believe that when a person is elected into a position, that the voting public deserves to know what's going on at all times, no matter what. I believe that it's very important to constantly communicate to the public through the media or through personal relations. And that includes going to the city employees and asking for their concerns and making it an issue as a city council member to put their priorities in position in a situation to where they feel comfortable with their surroundings.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Scott, how do you determine or evaluate success? And what would you do to make Maricopa successful?
I believe everybody has an opportunity for success. I believe people are given opportunities to excel in certain situations. I believe Maricopa, when it was founded and it started construction and homes were put in here, that it happened very, very fast and there were issues. And I believe that I've seen a lot of progress here, and for success, I believe, in my opinion, as far as city institution, when homeowners want to come here, it's a showing from citizens some way of success, because they want to live in your community, they want to watch it grow, they want to help build schools, they want to help encourage family members and friends to come here.
Thank you. Councilwoman.
If you have the desire to be a council member, why didn't you run for a seat in the election that was just 6 months ago? Given that we had a city council election for 3 seats a few months ago, why did you not submit a packet to run for office then?
Loyalty to the Sheriff of Pinal County, loyalty to Bridger Kimball. I don't believe, I'm not the type of person that would leave somebody that I'm working with to better myself. I finish a job and then I move on. The campaigns are over. I was asked by 2 employees from the city to possibly apply for this position. So my vision is to take the hours that I applied to campaigns and put those hours in as a city council member.
Thank you. Councilmember Kimball.
Scott, what do you believe are the 2 most critical decisions the city council has had to make over the past year?
I believe the unfortunate one was Councilman Marchione, and I believe the other one is continuing to grow businesses here. I've honestly spent quite a bit of time in the county level here, and I'm going to answer that question honestly. I know that it's one of the situations, because I speak with my neighbors, there's an issue with job growth here. I know that that's one important thing that the community, that the council members have looked at, and although it is getting better with the hospital and the city hall, and we've got a construction site by Hayden being constructed right now. We are moving right along, but there are still some people in the community that have had struggles, that are frustrated, and that have left this city. And so building a community where we can have good job growth is, I believe, one of the issues that the city council is continuing to get better and growing for all the citizens.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I have one more for you. Describe a leadership role, present or past, you've had at work or volunteer, school, church, civic, or other activities, which demonstrates the qualities you would bring to city leadership. Provide an example of how your specific leadership in that role made a difference in addressing or resolving a particularly challenging matter or issue.
I spent 2 months volunteering time at Sequoia Pathway Social Studies class, teaching about the Constitution, specifically the 5,000-Year Leap, the book. And although I didn't put that in my application, I got to see 4th and 5th graders take hold of that, and I got a paperback that they all put together, and I will hold it to this day. It's about 2 years. It's about 2 years now, but that's the neatest thing I ever did for this city. Is I went out to the Sequoia Pathway when it was when they were trailers, and I spent 2 months once a week leading kids, teaching them about the history of our country, and at the same time teaching me, and that was very moving for me.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Now, if you're selected as the new interim council member, how much time do you plan to dedicate to this position?
Whatever it takes. When I was working with the sheriff's campaign, my average week was between 15 and 25 hours a week. If that's what it takes, then that's what I intend to do.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown?
Describe a time you had to deal with a difficult situation and describe how you dealt with it. What was the outcome?
2 days ago. It's on a personal level. I have a lot of respect for people that lead and take responsibility for their actions. I believe in doing what I say I'm going to do, and I had an issue with a family member that didn't see it that way, so I stood up to that person, and 60 people at my party got to witness that. I didn't like it. It was unfortunate, but I was raised by a very successful man that was known throughout the country and the world. And he built one of the largest facilities in the state of Arizona and one of the largest ones in the country at one time in the late 70s, early 80s. And I surround myself with the best. I always have, and I always will. And we had a little confrontation 2 days ago, and it was something that I struggled with, but it is what it is, and I learned a lot from it, but I got to say what I wanted to say, and I'm at peace about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, although fully entitled to your own thoughts and opinions on where and how the city should move forward, you are also part of a 7-member team, which must work together regardless of these differences of opinion to accomplish the greater good of all of our 45,000 residents. So that being said, considering the statement, we have limited resources, but we have available options and we have an overall big picture. So what do you think this council is trying to accomplish, and how would you be an effective part of that team?
You know, I was fortunate enough to spend about a year on the Boys and Girls Club board, and I got to see a lot of diversification between men and women. And along that period of time, I also learned that there's people that believe that their opinion counts. And whether you like a person or not, in their mind, their opinion counts. I saw my stepfather do that at I've never seen anybody do it before, and I watched this for 10 years of my life. What I can bring to this city council is, I think, well, I know I can. I listen, I consider everybody's opinion, and I want to go from there and whether maybe merge or bridge the gap between people that are not quite seeing eye to eye, because that's what I was raised around.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Scott, What are the three main obstacles you see the city facing today? Not issues, but obstacles.
The overpass here at the railroad tracks, the Indian reservation south of us, and the floodplain east of us, more so by Tortosa.
Thank you.
Councilman.
What does being a leader mean to you?
It means being courageous, sticking to what you believe in, and don't compromising your beliefs.
Thank you.
Scott, we've gone through all the questions. I appreciate you answering those for us. You have a few minutes if you'd like to take 2 minutes and address the council and have some final statements.
Oh, I just want to say how much I appreciate every one of you, and I know that you're in a very difficult situation, that this has not happened in the city of Maricopa. The situation that you six are put, kind of been put into. I wish you all the best. I've continued to work with a few of you, and no matter what, I really believe with all my heart that you will make the right decision. Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't care. We're all citizens of this city, and we need to do what's best. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Scott.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Sean, for coming today. Would you go ahead and state your name for the record?
Sean Schlegel.
Sean, just before we begin here, we're going to run through these questions, but we're going to give you a 2-minute warning should you approach the 20 minutes, and we'll also give you, depending on the amount of time you have left, we'll give you 2 minutes to address the council and finish anything you felt you need to say to us before, in the form of a final statement. So I appreciate it. Great. Councilmember Kimball, will you begin, please?
Sean, what do you believe are the 2 most critical decisions the city council has had to make over the past year?
2 most critical decisions the city council's made?
Has had to
In the
make,
past year.
in your opinion?
The regional park is the number one. I think that's been the biggest outcry from the citizens in the community to get that park done and established for the kids in the community. And the second one would be, in my opinion, restructuring or bringing in a new chief of police to clean up the police department.
Thank you.
Sean, would you put the microphone a little closer to you, bend it down a little bit?
Yeah,
There
okay.
you go.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Better. Thank you. Councilwoman?
The city's strategic plan has 5 key priorities to achieve all at once, including economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation, public safety, and quality municipal services. If you had to pick just one of these priorities to focus on exclusively, which one would you select and why?
Quality of life, right? The reason being is that's what it's about, in my opinion, is having a community that's growing and there's a quality of life here, jobs, community, kids, parks. I guess when I look at that question, I just think of the overall growth of the community being sustainable and doing it from a character standpoint in the correct way with proper policies and procedures. Did I miss that?
Thank you very much. Councilmember Brown?
Sean, how do you determine or evaluate success? And what do you think would take to make the city successful?
Success comes in many, I mean, that's one answer is success is, let me think about this one for a minute on success. Success is earned, it doesn't just come overnight. So how we're making the city successful is, I believe, how you guys are doing it now. I mean, we've made a lot of changes at City Hall. I mean, if you look at from where Ed started at, probably as trying to incorporate us to where we are today, we've had a lot of growing up that we've done over the last 10 years. You know, and we're at a point now where I think success is achievable because of the changes you guys have all made and where we're moving and the direction we're moving currently and where we want to be in the future. So success is earned and you work for it, and it comes over a long period of time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sean, in order to be an efficient and effective city council member, one has to have a very clear understanding of what it means to operate within the legal parameters set by federal and state laws, including our own city code. So please explain how you as a council member will balance operations and communications in our city council, city manager form of government.
Operation and communications. Well, the operation is in my opinion, is up to the city manager and staff. You know, communicating with them and making proper policies and procedures to where they can function under certain guidelines and be held accountable for their actions is where I see those two working together, or communicating and operating.
Okay. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Sean, what are the three main obstacles that you see the city facing today? Not issues, but obstacles.
Obstacles, in my opinion, right now is infrastructure, definitely in the Heritage District, 7 ranches, and probably the most important would be our, I guess we have set up for industrial, putting the infrastructure in over there or making a move in that direction so we can get jobs here. I mean, I look at Maricopa and we do have jobs here, but you know, if you're not involved in the government, you know, those are probably our best paying jobs here on the local level, unless we're commuting out of the city into Phoenix or Chandler or, you know, the other regional areas. We need jobs here, and I think the industrial area needs to be pushed forward and start working, which you guys are, but I think some of the infrastructure issues are what's detrimental to us moving forward as a city and getting those good paying jobs here and stopping leakage within our city.
Councilmember?
Excluding yourself, of the remaining applicants, candidates for the council member position, who would you appoint and why?
That's a tough question because I didn't get to see the interviews. So, I mean, I know Phyllis, I know Peggy, I know Peggy's involved. Phyllis has got a long history in the city. I mean, if we're going from a strictly experience level within the city, you know, I guess Phyllis has experience. As so do I, maybe not on the government side, but from a publication standpoint, you know, so maybe Phyllis.
Okay, thank you. And second question, what does being a leader mean to you?
Being a leader to me is leading by example. You know, you sometimes have to get in the trenches and work with those that you're leading. You also have to work with those that you're a team with. You know, you don't always see eye to eye with everyone, but you can always come to consensus and do what's best for the community. And it can still be done with character. It doesn't have to be done, you know, changing how you feel and who you are to accomplish a common goal.
Vice Mayor.
Sean, we just had an election 6 months ago, and there were 3 seats open on this council, and only 4 candidates ran. Today, we have 1 council seat open for appointment, and there's 17 applications. If your desire is to sit on this council seat, why didn't you put your name in the hat 6 months ago and run for the election?
And I was asked, and I didn't. And the biggest reason I didn't was because as the publisher and the editor of the local newspaper here, I felt it was a huge conflict for me to be involved with council, committees, and I passed that through to staff, unless it was or my staff or the writers, and I passed that through them, unless it was an educational experience for them to better understand what they were communicating to the people. So for me, I didn't want to bring a biased view from sitting in a committee when we have to write a story or an article, and sometimes it's holding government accountable and having an inside perspective on how it was working and what was going on. You know, so that was the biggest reason for me, is the conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Thank you. My question is, although you're fully entitled to your own thoughts and opinions on where and how the city should move forward, you're also part of a 7-member team, as you mentioned before. We have to learn to work together, and regardless of our differences of opinion, we have to accomplish the greater good of serving all of our 45,000 residents. So my question is this: considering this last statement, our limited city resources, our available options, and the overall big picture, where and what do you think this council is trying to accomplish? And how would you be an effective part of that team?
Well, I think I bring a definite skill set or an eye from a development standpoint. I'm very, as you guys have known over the years, I've been very critical on how we've and what we have in the city, and some of these are not expensive line items. You know, some of them are as simple as the quiet zone. I think we were excited to find out that we spent, was it $30,000 on signage to be in a quiet zone? You know, and that was something that was debated and argued over on a quiet zone, because at that time nobody wanted to look into it or do it. So yeah, there are different avenues. You have to look for them. You know, there's grant monies available, which we're all doing a great job on getting now. I mean, as I know, south of the tracks, we got grants for sidewalks now through the school safety program, I believe it is. So those avenues you have to search and find. I mean, it's just like, from my standpoint on business, you know, down market, you turn it, you cut costs, you find ways to survive, you find ways to make it profitable. I know this is government, but it's just, in my mind, it would be the same mindset. You find the ways to make it work, you know, through research or knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the better off the community is as a whole.
Thank you very much. Councilman.
Sean, describe a time that you had to deal with a difficult situation and explain how you dealt with it. What was the outcome?
Difficult situations. I'm trying to think of a bigger one instead of a small day-to-day difficult situation. Honestly, as a publisher of the newspaper, I believe when we broke the story on the police department, you know, I mean, that was probably one of my most difficult situations to go with. But on a lighter side, maybe another difficult situation was with ICANN and Chandler, improving Chandler area neighborhoods. I started a fundraiser called the Festival of Trees, and it is now their greatest fundraiser for that nonprofit in Chandler. The hard, difficult decision was, when do you let go? When have you ran your course as the lead person, and when do you pass that buck on to someone else? And I'm grateful that I did on that event, because it's turned into their biggest fundraiser because of the CEO they brought in and took over that event. So there's two different challenges there. You know, one was a good one, and the other one was a little bit more difficult.
Thank you.
Councilman.
Now, if you're selected as the new interim council member, how much time do you plan to dedicate to the position?
As much time as needed. I'm a very organized person, so I schedule very efficiently. So I think I've said this before, is I think it's important that councils at the events that go on at town, but I know everybody's schedules conflict with that. Sometimes everyone has their own event, so I think communication among council to make sure there's a president at most of the events here is just a discussion you need to have between council. But as far as time, as much as it takes to do the job.
Thank you. Councilman.
Describe a leadership role, present or past, you had at work, volunteer, school, church, civic, or other activity, which demonstrates the qualities you would bring to city leadership, Provide an example of how your specific leadership in that role made a difference in addressing or resolving a particularly challenging matter or issue.
Well, I could go back to the leadership role with ICANN, or I could bring up the publication and the many difficult challenges we had in there as leading the staff in the right direction, or the writers. I say staff because it's just ingrained in my head, but that stuff just doesn't happen. You have to lead them. You know, I have 15 years business experience. I've been in a number of businesses, from restaurants to real estate to rentals. Everyone that's ever worked for me had to be led. And there's always challenging leadership roles. And those are the roles that you work through. You don't quit. You come to a consensus, and you make it work that's best for the community in this particular situation.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sean, you have 2 minutes to address us if you'd like to, and talk to us about what you're looking for.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, for the opportunity to come up here and being selected to go through the interview process. I believe, for me, how I benefit the city as a whole is I have a unique understanding how the city works, but not from going to leadership academies or being on committees. It's from being basically in the trenches of what was going on with the city and the information that comes from not only the people, but from the government. You know, so I always had the challenge of blending those two. So I really had, and still do today, just because I'm active in the community. I know you can say that I'm maybe not present, but with technology, you know, I still watch council, I still read the agendas, I still know what's going on in the city. So from those standpoints, I'm actively involved. You know, the Ray Morrill Foundation is still currently donating money to the community. And from that standpoint, I'd like to have the opportunity to work with you guys and serve the community as a whole. But more importantly, I don't want to do it unless it's done with character.
Perfect. Great. Thank you very much. If you don't mind, we have 3 more people. Peg, you're going to not like this, but I think we need to take a 5-minute break, and if we can, kind of keep the separation between the remaining council candidates, et cetera. But we need to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll re-adjourn. That'd probably be good. That's where everyone else is. What's that? We're going to get 5. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's saying the same thing. Shivering and then the wires kicking in and everything's happening. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Peg, for indulging us to do that. That was a good and well-needed break. With that, before we get started here, I'm going to have you state your name for the record, as well as just inform you that should you not go the full 20 minutes, first off, I'll give you a 2-minute warning as you approach the 20 minutes. But secondly, if you don't go that full 20, we'll give you some time to address the council and say anything that you feel was not asked or you'd like us to know. So with that, we'll have you start the name, and then we'll start with Leon asking questions.
Okay, my name is Peg Chapados.
Okay, council member?
Thanks, Mrs. Chapados. Excluding yourself, of the remaining applicant candidates for the city council member position, who would you appoint and why?
By the remaining, you mean the ones that were selected for an interview?
Correct. Of the remaining applicants, yes.
Having just had the opportunity to review their applications, I think Phyllis von Fleckinger would be a strong candidate. I also think Rachel LaFall would be a strong candidate.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Peg, what are the three main obstacles you see the city facing today? Not issues, but obstacles.
Constrained funds.
What was that?
Constrained funding. Not enough money to work with to do what we want to do. The state of the economy in general right now, and the uncertainty of our next budget cycle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Peg, in order to be an efficient and effective city council member, one must have a very clear understanding of what it means to operate within the legal parameters set by the federal and state laws, as well as our own city code. So what I would ask you is, please explain how you as a council member will balance operations and communications in our city council, city manager form of government.
Well, first of all, I do realize the importance of following a chain of command. Having served in a leadership role with my HOA and several other boards, I understand that with open meeting laws, it's very important as to who you talk to, how often you talk to them, and what you talk to them about. I've done some research on the city manager council form of government, and I understand that council serves as the policymakers in the legislative body, while the city manager is the person who oversees the day-to-day operations of the city, including staff operations, administration, things like that. So I understand the need to go to the city manager when I have a question, and also to be very careful and respectful of which council members I have a dialogue with on any specific issue.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Brown.
Peg, how do you determine or evaluate success, and what do you think it would take to make the city successful?
I think we're off to a great start. I think having a council as dedicated as the ones we have, I think having a staff with the competency and the knowledge and experience that we have is another great asset. I think our biggest asset, however, is our people. We've got some dynamic people here in Maricopa. The resources are unlimited. The energy, the enthusiasm, I mean, just the fact that you had 17 people say, I'm interested in serving on this council is a good step. We've had more and more people step up wanting to be involved on committees, boards, and commissions. You see more and more people here on the first and third Tuesdays of every month. We've got people that are willing to run for office, people that want to take on leadership roles, people that are supporting our nonprofits, people that are getting actively involved in the community and are being vocal. They're telling you what they need, what they want. And I think that is how we measure success and how we continue to build and grow on what we've got, keeping in mind that we are still in our infancy as a city, but we've got so much potential and so many opportunities. I think that we're on the right track.
Thank you.
Councilwoman.
If you're selected as a new council member, how much time do you plan to dedicate to this position?
As much as it needs. I mean, you all have seen me at just about every council meeting, subcommittee meeting. I'm on boards and commissions, so I'm here at the table in the audience when you guys are taking action. So whatever time it takes, whatever I can do to help wherever I'm needed, I will adjust my schedule accordingly.
Thank you. Councilmember.
Peg, what do you believe are the two most critical decisions the city council has had to make over the past year?
The 2012-2013 budget and developing the entire Beagle property project in Regional Park.
All right. One
Proceed.
more. Describe a leadership role, present or past, you had at work, volunteer, school, church, civic, or other activities, which demonstrates the qualities you would bring to city leadership. Provide an example of how your specific leadership in that role made a difference in addressing or resolving a particularly challenging matter or issue.
Well, it actually is one that I'm quite proud of. When I came out here, one of the first things I got involved with was my HOA. I ran for our first HOA board and was elected for a 3-year term. During the course of that time, I got to know a lot of other people in Maricopa, and I realized that there was a tremendous need for us to network with one another. So I talked to a couple of the other board presidents, and I formed what was called the Maricopa HOA Presidents Council. It was a way for us to bring initially board presidents together, but eventually we expanded it to board members. And it was amazing at the similarities and some of the differences and challenges that we were each facing. So as coordinator of that, I was directly involved in holding what started out to be monthly meetings. We would send out emails. We involved and invited city staff. We had a number of presentations from city staff on issues that we all shared or some unique circumstances that we all experienced. What that led to was when Global Water announced their rate increase, we did our due diligence. We got some research, we got together, we held a town meeting with 44 of the then I think it was 52 board members in Maricopa, and as a result of that, the Arizona Corporation Commission came out here and listened to over 900 residents. Several hundred of them spoke that night, and Global Water, as a result of that, did not get all the rate increase that they had asked for, but they did get some concessions. But I know Maricopa's voice was heard, and I'm very proud that I was a small part of that. You know, it's about listening to people and considering their point of view and then trying to come up with the best resolution given the resources and the parameters you have to work within.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
If you have a desire to be a council member, why didn't you run for a seat in the election that was just held 6 months ago? Given that we had city council elections for 3 seats a few months ago, why did you not submit a packet to run for office then?
Excellent question, and honestly, my first experience running back in 2010 was rather painful. It's very, you put yourself out there, you're exposed, you're vulnerable. I've never professed to be a politician, but I am definitely an active citizen. I get involved, I participate, I attend meetings, I try and help and do things that I can. The other reason is that I was actively involved in a campaign for another candidate. So at that time, it wasn't the right decision for me to make. Whether I run again remains to be seen. I'm keeping my options open. You know, if selected to serve on this council, I might find that I love it, and I really want to continue doing it. So right now, keeping my options open.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown?
Peg, describe a time you had to deal with a difficult situation, and how you dealt with it. What was the outcome?
Probably the one that comes to mind first is when I first took over on the HOA board. One of the first things we were told is, okay, we're suing the developer for a lot of construction defects. And it was a matter of educating myself and the rest of our board, educating our residents as to why we needed to do that, putting dollar figures on what it might cost us versus what we might gain in a settlement, what we needed to do to repair that. We were having a lot of issues with irrigation and erosion and things like that. And a lot of people just said, why are we spending that money? Why don't we just fix it ourselves? So it was an education process. We had to hold a special meeting. We had to have a vote in order to proceed with the lawsuit. I was directly involved with all the negotiations. We ended up getting a settlement, and then I had to be part of the group that oversaw and prioritized all the repairs and how that money was spent, all the while being accountable to our homeowners as to here's what we got, here's what it cost us, and here's what we've gained. And these problems have now been fixed. So it was a lot of different attitudes that, you know, well, I just moved here and now you're suing somebody, or I've lived here for 4 years and I don't see those problems. So it was a lot of dealing with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different priorities, a lot of different concerns. Fortunately, for all concerned, it turned out for the best, and we were able to make all the repairs necessary and come away, you know, pretty intact financially.
Peg, although you're fully entitled to your own thoughts and opinions on where and how the city should move forward, you're also part of a 7-member team, which must work together regardless of these differences of opinion to accomplish the greater good of serving all of the 45,000 residents that live here. So the question is this: considering that statement, we have limited resources as a city, we have available options, but we don't have a whole lot of them, and the overall big picture, what and where do you think this council, where do you think we're going? What do you think we're trying to accomplish? And how would you be an effective part of that team?
Excellent question. I think one of the things that I can say is I've been in the audience when you guys have discussed issues, so I'm aware of some of the things that you've talked about, what you're talking about now. I know we've got some exciting opportunities out there. The fact that City Hall is going up, new police department is going up. We've broken ground recently on 2 fire stations. We've got a CAC campus going in. We're very much concerned about funding for the overpass, the grade separation. We've got a lot of good things here. There's new businesses being built as we speak. So I'm familiar with a lot of the things that council is dealing with. I do my research just like you guys do. I go through the agenda when it's published. I look up things. I read the supporting documentation. I ask questions. I've talked to each and every one of you. I've had the opportunity, and I appreciate that, to have been able to sit down with each of you, except for Councilmember Kimball. He and I are still kind of getting to know each other, but it's your experience and your knowledge and what you bring to the table is an asset to me. Because a lot of residents that I deal with will ask, well, what's going on with X project, or what's happening with Y? And I can tell them, well, here's what I've seen and here's what I've heard, or here's some resources that, don't take my word for it, do your own research. But I can impart to them what I've seen you do and what I've seen you discuss. So as a council member, I'm fully prepared to hit the ground running. And I appreciate the fact that you all have talents and experiences that you bring to the table. I do as well, and I think it would be a good mix.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Peg, the city's strategic plan has 5 key priorities that we all need to achieve at once. These priorities include economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation, public safety, and quality municipal services. If you had to pick just one of these priorities and make them exclusive, which one of these priorities would it be?
Given the circumstances that I know today, I'd have to go with quality public safety, because people are not going to move to a town that they feel they're going to be in harm's way or put in danger. And I think given the excellence of our fire and police departments, a lot of other things fall into place if you have that at the forefront. I don't mean to, it's almost an equal thing with economic sustainability, because if you don't have that, you can't afford a good fire and police department. But I think public safety is part of what the reputation of the city is built upon. We feel safe here, we have low crime rates, we have excellent service, we have very professional people running those departments. So that would be my number 1 right now, given the circumstances of today.
Thank you.
Councilmember.
What does being a leader mean to you?
It means a lot of different things. To me, it means making a positive difference wherever and whenever I can. It means helping other people. It means using resources other than my own, thinking outside of the box, challenging myself to take on new opportunities, doing things outside of my comfort zone. I also believe in leading by example, and treating others like you would want to be treated.
Thank you very much, Peg. We've gone through all the questions here. You have 2 minutes at this point if you would like to address the council.
Okay. Again, thank you for this opportunity. I appreciated the depth of the application process. Thank you to my fellow candidates for raising the bar in terms of how we all needed to perform tonight. I also need to thank city staff. We have a wealth of talent and resources here, and I've availed myself of them over the years a number of times. And to me, this all boils down to, this is an opportunity and return on investment. I've invested countless hours attending meetings and reading things and getting to know people. I've come to your meetings. You guys have invested countless dollars and resources into providing those opportunities to me. This would be an opportunity for me to give back, to share what I know and what I can do with the city and with my fellow residents, and it would be an honor to be a council member. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Phyllis, thank you for joining us this evening.
Well, thank you, all of you, for your diligence and your time and your effort.
Thank you. Two things real fast. We're going to have you state your name for the record, and after we do that, I'm just going to let you know real fast that we're going to launch right into the questions, and you're going to have approximately 20 minutes, as you know. When you reach, if you use most of the time, when you reach approximately 20 minutes, I'll give you a 2-minute signal. Should you finish the questions before 20 minutes, we'll give you that time remaining, at least 2 minutes, to make a final statement to the council.
Thank
Okay?
you. All right.
Please.
Phyllis Von Fleckinger.
Phyllis. Councilmember Potter, I believe you're first this time. I'm starting to get mixed up here. I've been doing this too long tonight. Potter's first, okay. By all means. I'm wrong? Okay.
It's okay. All right.
Go ahead.
Okay, excluding yourself, of the remaining applicants, candidates for the council member position, who would you appoint and why?
Well, I did look at, I have notes, I did look on the net, on the website at all of the applicants and picked out their strong points and their weak points, and some of them aren't here. So should I just go with the ones that are here?
Yes, just the ones that are still here.
Okay. All right, let me look at this. I liked, I'm sorry, I scribbled all over this while I was in the back room, timing everybody. But Peggy, she has been very involved at a civic level, doing lots of committees, showing up and doing a lot of things. So she would be one person. The other, I'm sorry, I can't pick out another person besides myself. I just can't, I'm sorry.
It's okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Phyllis, I have a curiosity question for you. Just 6 months ago, we had an election, and there were 3 seats available on this council, and only 4 candidates ran for that election. Now we've got 1 seat available for appointment only, and we've got 17 applications. If your desire is to sit on this council, why didn't you put your name in the hat 6 months ago and run for the seat?
Because I was scheduled for a hip replacement on June 12th. And so with that disability at that time and looking forward to that surgery and not understanding ahead of time what my recovery would be, that didn't make any sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Phyllis, although fully entitled to your own thoughts and opinions on where and how the city should move forward, you're also part of a 7-member team, which must work together regardless of these differences of opinion to accomplish the greater good of serving all of our 45,000 residents. So my question is this: considering this statement, our limited city resources, our available options, and the overall big picture, where do you think this council, or what do you think this council is trying to accomplish, and how would you be an effective member of that team?
Would you restate it, please?
Sure, absolutely. So again, we kind of have limited resources, available options, just an overall big picture, but what do you think this council is trying to achieve as it sits now, and how would you be a match or an effective part of that team were you allowed to be a part of it?
Well, I know some of the things you're trying to achieve because I keep up on it, but I also, some of the things that, all right, economic development. I think that is a major thing that this council should be achieving. Back when I ran on the council, that was the major issue. When I looked at all the applicants, the number one thing that I saw so many of them say, they kind of bandied this thing around about economic development, but I didn't see anybody really approach a solution to it, okay? And I know that there are areas, I know of 3 areas specific because I live in one, that are good for economic development, but there's no infrastructure there. And the infrastructure that I'm talking about is water and sewer. And so we have to figure out a way to get that infrastructure in there for economic development, because we need shovel-ready sites, and without shovel-ready sites, no one wants to come in here if the work isn't done. So I just think that's the major thing. And I think a lot of things will spin off of that. If we have shovel-ready sites, because we have cooperation with the infrastructure, we'll have economic development, we'll have industry in here, we'll have high-paying jobs, people will work here, people will live here, their kids will go to school here, and the city will prosper.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Councilmember Brown.
Phillips, describe a time you had to deal with a difficult situation and how you dealt with the outcome.
Well, I would say probably one of the most difficult situations that I've had to deal with that wasn't on a family level that's personal was after I poured my heart into running for city council. The work, the money, the effort, the commitment, the belief, and then because of health reasons, I had to resign. That was a very, very difficult situation. And I just thought the appropriate thing to do was to resign, and the health issues are past, and now I have an opportunity to finish what I started. And there's so many things that are still there that haven't been completed, and I just would look forward to doing that.
Thank you. Councilwoman.
The city's strategic plan has 5 key priorities to achieve all at once, including economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation, public safety, and quality municipal services. If you had to pick just one of these priorities to focus on exclusively, which one would it be and why?
List them again, please.
Economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation, public safety, and quality municipal services.
I have to go back to economic sustainability because I think the rest of it kind of comes into place when you have that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman.
Phyllis, what do you believe are the 2 most critical decisions the city council has had to make over the past year?
Well, I think they haven't made one of them yet, and I think that is on the multi-gen center and how to fund the operation and maintenance. I think that's pretty important. And I think that the other one has to do with the multi-gen center too. I think both of them.
Thank you. And one more for you. Describe a leadership role, present or past, you've had at work, volunteer, school, church, civic, or other activities which demonstrates the qualities you would bring to city leadership. Provide an example of how your specific leadership in that role made a difference in addressing or resolving a particularly challenging matter or issue.
That's pretty broad. That's pretty broad, okay. I mean, a leadership role. Well, I can go back to my leadership as council member, and so I'm just trying to address. You're going to have to help me here.
Okay, so I guess the premise of the question,
Narrow it down a little bit.
it would be something, maybe a task or something that you championed as a leader to address an issue, a challenging issue, in which you helped make it right or make it good? I don't know, something you did at work or in your business, if you own a business or whatnot.
Okay, well, all right. This is kind of old news, but on my application, because I did include a letter from Senator Simpson, Al Simpson from Wyoming. I was on a task force that I was a liaison between him and Amex Coal Company with Bob James, that the environmentalists were determined that Amex Coal not reclaim the land better than they found it, but reclaim it the same. And the citizens and the senator and the coal mine wanted to reclaim it better. And as part of that liaison, I was part of that happening.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman.
If you're selected as a council member, how much time do you plan to dedicate to this position?
Well, as much as it takes, I can tell you that I'm retired, and I can tell you that on the first council that I served, on the open space, on the open space ordinance, I spent 30 hours of research trying to get the open space reduced from 100% to 45% so we could have multifamily here. Because 100% open space requirement is called exclusionary zoning, and it makes it too prohibitive for low and moderate income people to come in for multifamily. So whatever it takes, I have no time limits.
Councilmember.
How do you determine or evaluate success, and what do you think it would take to make the city successful?
I actually think the city is successful. I see amazing things that's happened since I moved here at 937 people, and now there's 40-some thousand. This city is very successful. I think there's still some things that can improve, and it always comes back to economic development. To get people working here, their kids going to school here, industry here. At the very beginning, we did not want to be a bedroom community. All these years later, we're a bedroom community. That's what will make this successful.
Thank you. In order to be an efficient and effective city council member, one must have a very clear understanding of what it means to operate within the legal parameters set by federal and state laws, including our own city code. Please explain how you, as a council member, will balance operations and communications in our city council, city manager form of government.
Balance operations. Well, a city council manager form of government is, the city council is the legislative body, and the city manager responds to that. That is the balance.
Okay, thank you very much. Vice Mayor.
Phyllis, what are the three main obstacles you see the city facing today? Not issues, but obstacles.
It's hard for me to differentiate obstacles and issues, Councilman Farrell. I think one of the obstacles that I see, and I just hate to say this in a public forum, but I think one of the obstacles that I see from personal experiences is a really good working relationship with the Brand X Water Company, okay? Okay, so I see that as an obstacle, okay? And obviously, the grade separation is an obstacle, but it's in progress, so it's not ongoing. And another obstacle that we have no control over is the 347, the traffic 347. We have no control over that. We may have, I mean, I make this joke that, that they're still mad they lost the war, but we need cooperation. I think that's an obstacle. And the third thing I would say, and I saw a lot of this as I said, I studied all the applications, that it's an obstacle that we can't do anything about is the price of utilities. I know utilities are high, and people have addressed that in their applications, but the city, the Corporation Commission, they have to respond according to the state constitution. So that is an obstacle for us to help the citizens have cheaper utilities.
Thank you. Councilmember.
What does being a leader mean to you?
Being a leader, to me, means listening. Number one, being a leader means listening and responding to needs. That's what it means to me.
Thank you very much. Phyllis, you have a few minutes, we'll give you up to 2 minutes to make a final statement to the council. Anything you feel that we should know about you, or?
I don't know, I've got 5 pages here, Mayor.
Well, if you can fit them in 2 minutes, it's a go.
Well, yes, I debated and debated. I didn't know if I'd have this opportunity, but, and then I read this, and it sounds kind of silly. I don't mean to be mean if I demean anyone. Anyway, and I applaud everybody that has come forward wanting to serve the community, but I also think it's really easy to throw your hat in the ring when there isn't any cost to you, when you don't have to spend the money. In the primary, I missed by 1/2 a vote. My husband has a philosophy about women in politics. I bet he wished he would have voted for me, because he had to spend another $5,000 for me to run in the general. Okay, so anyway, if you have to be out there, all of you know this, none of you are appointed. If you're out there knocking on doors, pounding on the street, spending your money, putting your face out there, that's what it's about. So anyway, I do appreciate all the 17 people that came. And like I said, I didn't mean to be mean to demean, anyway, whatever I said. And this sounds kind of mushy. And I didn't write it, how many?
30 seconds.
Okay, I didn't write it down. Everyone that is on the council, this is like that is their adopted child, and they love it. But I birthed this child. I birthed this child, okay? And I want to continue this birthing process to see it to grow up. That's it.
Thank you very much. Very good.
She birthed this child, so you want to see him grow up.
Hi, Marlene.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for being here this evening. Two things real fast. We'll have you state your name for the record in just a moment. But before we get started, we're going to let you know that you have full 20 minutes to answer the questions. We will, if you approach the full 20 minutes, we'll give you a 2-minute warning so you know where you're at. And should you finish answering the questions prior to that time frame, we'll let you have 2 minutes to make a final statement to the council if you so desire. Okay? Go ahead and start, and we'll start at that end of the questions.
All right, good evening. My name is Marlene Pierce.
Hi, Marlene.
Hi.
So, really tricky question. What came first, the chicken or the egg? I'm joking.
We've been doing this for a while. We need to
All right, so in all seriousness now, what do you believe are the 2 most critical decisions the city council has had to make over the past year?
Well, I think one of them has to do, and actually I think you're still in the process of making some decisions, but it's about the multi-gen center. I think there's a lot going on with that. And then probably the other biggest thing would be the situation currently with the overpass.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Now, if you had the desire to be a council member, why didn't you run for a seat in the election that was just held 6 months ago? Given that we had a city council election for 3 seats a few months ago, why did you not submit a packet to run for office then?
That's a good question. Actually, the reason is because we had a situation in my company where we were involved in a corporate reorganization. And so what happened was, the paperwork would have been due in December, and we found out in November that our company was reorging, and that sort of threw everything into a tailspin for me, because at that point the priority was staying employed since I'm the sole source of support for my family. But that was literally the thing that stopped me, because I had attended Leadership Academy and had done many things with the community that was leading me up to that decision, and so it was very disappointing to not be able to participate.
Councilman?
Describe a time you had to deal with a difficult situation, including how you dealt with it and what was the outcome.
Oh, well, I think we deal with difficult situations all the time. I think one of the most difficult recently had to do with some of the reorganizations in our company where some of us were able to maintain our positions within the company and others weren't, and we had to be people that made decisions on the people that were staying and the people that did not stay, and so that was probably one of the most difficult things I'd been through.
Marlene, although you're fully entitled to your own thoughts and opinions on where and how the city should move forward, you're also part of a 7-member team, which must work together regardless of the differences of opinion to accomplish the greater good of serving all of our 45,000 residents. So here's my question. Considering this statement, we have limited resources, we have our available options, and the overall big picture, what do you think this council is trying to accomplish, and how would you be an effective part of this team? So what would you do? How would you be an effective part of this team, and what do you think we're trying to accomplish?
Well, I think that the overall purpose of this council, or would be any council, would be for the good of the community in which you represent. So with that being said, I think that every decision that you make is, especially, I guess I would say with regards to Maricopa in particular, because this is a city that is currently so involved in a growth phase, that one of the most important things would be to make sure that that growth was happening in a responsible manner, not just emotionally or what looks like people would like to see at the city, but you also have to take into consideration fiscal responsibility and doing the right thing for the city as a whole, because sometimes what looks like you're not moving quickly right now, you might very well be moving, but you have to move in a manner that makes sense, and makes sense for 45,000 people that's trending up to be 100,000 people. So essentially your role is really to be responsible for the growth, but to always you always have to wear a hat as if you're 45,000 people today.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Marlene, what are the 3 main obstacles you see in our city today? Not issues, but obstacles.
Well, that's a good question. Obstacles, I think sometimes, and this is more, I guess, from an outsider looking in, sometimes it appears, and I use the word appears, that sometimes it seems that the city can't make certain choices in a manner that always makes the rest of the city feel comfortable. But again, that would be a perception. But so in terms of an obstacle, I would say it's the perception of communicating to the people that the things that are being done are for the good of the city and are for the good of the people moving forward, and getting them to understand that. So I would say probably maybe from a communication standpoint would be a big one. I'll be honest, I really can't think of 2 other ones right now, but that would be probably the biggest thing that I would think.
Thank you.
Councilman Potter?
Excluding yourself, of the remaining applicants, candidates for the council member position, who would you appoint and why?
Excluding myself, I would have to say that Peg Chapados would probably be the person that I would support in that position. I've been a member of this community for 7 years, and Peg is somebody that I've seen out and in front pretty much since the very beginning of my tenure here in the city. So I would have to say that it would be Peg.
Okay, and the second question, what does being a leader mean to you?
Well, I think being a leader has to do with possibly not being a leader. It's, to me, is getting, hopefully having people understand the objectives and the goals so that they are interested in following that objective and that goal, but not so much because you're in charge. So I guess from a leadership standpoint, yes, you want to lead because you want people to follow in the direction you hope that they should be moving, but you don't want to be perceived as somebody that's trying to force them to go in that direction. So I think the best example would be just that you're providing them with the information and getting it across to them in a compelling manner so that they can properly follow.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
The city's strategic plan has 5 key priorities that we all need to achieve at once. Those 5 priorities are economic sustainability, quality of life, transportation, public safety, and a quality municipal service department. If you had to choose one of these priorities out of these 5, which one of them would you choose and why?
Oh, I think that safety is probably one of the most important factors. So I would think the support of the safety and the appropriate coverage in our community would probably be the most important thing to me, because I think with that, everything else starts to, well, I think things follow that. So I think just the things that support safety in the community in terms of even resources like to the police department, the fire department, et cetera.
Marlene, in order to be an efficient and effective city council member, one must have a very clear understanding of what it means to operate within the legal parameters set by the federal and state laws, and including our own city code. So can you please explain to me how, as a council member, you will find balance between operations and communications in our city council, city manager form of government? So how are you going to utilize this system of finding that balance?
Well, I'm not sure that I can answer it exactly how you would like me to answer it. I guess the best thing that I would say is that the most important thing that you can do in any aspect is that you have to, first and foremost, every decision has to be made with integrity. And you need to make sure that if you are following things with a sense of integrity, then you are also following the rules of a city and of their governing board. And I think that that's really the best thing that I would say is that if you approach everything with the most honest and ethical manner, that even when you have to make decisions that won't make you the most popular person in the world, you have done so with the first and foremost integrity, and secondly, the good of the community that you're servicing behind you. So that'd be it.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
How do you determine or evaluate success? And what do you think it takes to make the city successful?
I think that success comes from sort of from within. So to me, I already see the city as a great success, and one of the reasons why I wanted to be part of the council is because I think that the city is headed in a great direction, and it's an exciting thing to watch. So to me, success is moving something forward with the intent of it becoming what's good for the people, always first and foremost, and then also what becomes economically sound for the rest of the city. So to me, success is kind of, I think everything in the community moving forward sort of embodies success.
Now, if you're selected the interim council member, how much time do you plan to dedicate to this position?
Well, I think that in my current position, I am a sales rep that does allow me a lot of flexibility in my job. I took that job 10 years ago so that I could be an appropriate parent to my child. And so with that, I know of the demands and the commitment that it would take to fulfill this position in an interim manner, and I do believe that I would be available and be able to make that commitment to you.
Thank you. Councilmember.
Describe a leadership role, present or past, you've had at work or volunteer, school, church, civic, or other activities, which demonstrates the qualities you would bring to city leadership. Provide an example of how your specific leadership in that role made a difference in addressing or resolving a particularly challenging matter or issue.
Well, I think that I had to take a leadership role several years back, actually, with regard to my son in school, because he was, for the people that know him and see this great student he is today, he was not always. So I actually had to take a very strong leadership role as a parent advocate in taking on both the state of Arizona and the Scottsdale City School District to protect my son's rights. And it was through the diligence of doing what was right and holding my ground with regards to his rights that eventually the things that were necessary for him to be developed and for him to find his way were offered to him. And as a result, he's now an honor student and has done quite a lot of good for both his schools and hopefully for our community. So I would say it was standing up for his rights and taking on a very big challenge with the state of Arizona and the Scottsdale School Board.
Thank you. Those are the questions we have for you, so we'd like to give you 2 minutes to address the council on anything you feel you didn't get a chance to tell us.
Well, essentially, I just really, if nothing else, I would really like to say thank you so much to all of you for the opportunity to have been through this process. And no matter which way things should go, I'm very excited to have been part of it, and I'm very excited to hopefully take that experience either into an interim position now, or if not, an attempt at it in the future in 2014. So I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mallory. While the council gets settled with their notes, et cetera, and gets ready to move on to the next process, there's been a media request to take a picture of all the 8 remaining candidates. If they'd come up here and stand in the front dais and get a quick picture, we'll do that in the next minute and a half. And council, if you'll get your notes ready, if you have any further discussion. Well, as we get ready to discuss, I'd just like to give all the candidates one last round of applause. Thank you very much. I don't care who you are, that's hard to stand for 20 minutes and endure the Socratic method while people fire questions at you. So again, thank you. At this point, we're going to turn the time over to the council to discuss if they have any discussion about candidates. If they choose to move directly to the vote, we will make a selection of one person and we'll pass that on to the city clerk. So, Councilor, what is your pleasure? Wow, quiet.
Let's move to the vote.
Okay, we have a consensus of moving to the vote, at least by one council. That's good enough, right? What would you guys like to do? Anything you'd like to say? Obviously not a fun position to be in. All right, well, let's, seeing no other objections, let's move to the vote. You have something, Vice Mayor?
How are you going to do the vote? Just, you looking for a motion or what?
No, you have this paper in front of you.
Yeah.
That has the list of the 8 remaining candidates. Our job is to pick one and pass it to the city clerk.
Okay.
At which point they'll be tabulated and put on the screen, at which point we have decided to take the top 2, or if somebody has received 4 votes, that person will be accepted. If we're tied, we'll still take those top 2, and we'll go on from that point. Okay?
You want the 2? You want the top 2?
Just one, you're picking just one, and depending on how the vote comes out, that's where we'll move, hopefully, to the top 2.
All you want on the paper is the one,
Is
one
the
name.
one person, one name. That's correct. If there has to be another paper, then you can write it down. Yeah, that's fine. Just put your name on the top of it. Oh, we're missing one.
Bridger, is that how you pick cards, dude? Is that how you pick cards, dude?
Okay.
It's going to be up on the screen.
What's the score of the game? Here's the 49ers.
Oh, I have no idea. I'm
You
more
don't,
concerned about
you don't
that
have it on?
U of A Long Beach State game. It's a tough game, man. They only lost to North Carolina.
How did Kansas State lose?
Ooh, that was something else.
Yeah,
How did Oregon lose?
yeah, that's a good question.
At Oregon.
Yeah, that was a huge defeat.
Who else has done that? Chicago won.
49ers.
Chicago and San Francisco.
Sure will be. But at least the tie, it's 2-2. And then we do follow-up questions.
Whoever won, they're going to tie.
It's going to be a tie.
Combine, whoever wins.
Okay. So, there it will be up. As you can see, Peggy Chapados has 3 votes, Sean Schlegel has 2 votes, and Rachel LaFall has 1 vote. So according to the rules that we set forth earlier, it will be Peggy and Sean who are the 2 finalists. Council, you in agreement with that? You see that? Okay. So Peggy and Sean are the 2 finalists, and at this point, it will be a matter of proceeding with either additional follow-up questions, which is at your leisure. If you had a quick round of questions that you wanted to follow up on what they had said, or anything, or any further discussion to separate that in your mind, however that works. So again, Peggy Chapados and Sean Schlegel. What's your desire, Council? Would you like to see them brought back up for follow-up questions? Or would you prefer to move straight to another vote? Councilwoman.
How would you suggest those follow-up questions?
Really, it's up to you at this point. Considering each of them have spoken, you've taken copious notes here. it'd be the opportunity for you to ask a quick follow-up. Council member?
Any question?
Any question?
We have to submit our questions ahead of time.
Now it's any question. Because the assumption is you'll stay along course to some extent rather than saying, are you married, or how many kids do you have?
Those were my questions.
Well, sorry. Not going to work that way. Legal will chop it off if that's the
That's a
case.
zero anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a joke.
Your desire. Yes, Vice Mayor.
I'd like to call him back up.
Okay. Any particular order? You're the asker?
I just have a question for both of them, and it's a follow-up question for both. If you both want to just come on up. Sean, Peg. Let's go ahead and start with Peg. We'll let the women go first, Sean.
Thank you, sir.
Peg, I want to ask you one more time, and maybe follow up in a little more detail with me on your explanations on why you feel the way you feel, but tell me the 3 obstacles you see in our city today, not issues, but obstacles, and please give a brief explanation of each of the 3.
By the constrained funding, I mean some of the challenges that you guys are facing with the reduced, or for lack of a better term, stolen state shared revenue issues that we're facing. The economy in general, unemployment, the price of things constantly going up. We're facing some price increases here. Global Water's going for another rate increase. ED3, that's a gamble. And the fact that you've got...
Whoa. You've named about 6. Let's go with 3. Give me your 3 top priorities as obstacles and
The first
explain
one-
those 3.
The constrained funding,
Okay.
reduced shared revenue, limited sources of revenue here, the economy as a whole, okay, and the third one was the challenges that you're going to face with the 13-14 fiscal budget, with the structural deficit, having to identify revenue streams, also controlling expenses, some of the challenges that you're looking at in terms of maintenance and operation for some of the projects that are ongoing right now. Those I see as the 3 biggest ones right now.
Same question, Sean. Do you want me to repeat it for you real quick?
Yeah, please.
Explain to me your definition of the 3 main obstacles that our city faces today. Not issues, but obstacles. And give a brief explanation of your 3.
Well, before I said the 3 obstacles were infrastructure in both the industrial park, the Seven Ranches area, and the Heritage District. But I don't really, it's not an obstacle from a standpoint of a revenue stream. It's an obstacle because we haven't developed. If those buildings, we have more land sitting on 347 than most downtowns have in general. If those were developed, the revenue stream from the increased property taxes and/or the retail sales tax that comes in would increase our budget to allow us to have more benefits for the community. We definitely need to get in swoon, what is it, Barry Broom's doing it. Maybe we need to look at programs like that, start bringing those CEOs here and show them what we're doing. But the 3 obstacles are still, I believe it's infrastructure because we're not developing. And it's cost prohibitive for private sector developers to come in here and take on that burden. So it needs to be a private-public relationship. And with that, we'll increase our revenue stream.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman, you have a question?
I have a question to both of them. Does it matter? What would you say is your largest contribution to the city of Maricopa?
My property
Non-monetary.
taxes. My time. My time just being involved, being active. I sit on several boards, been involved in several committees, trying to attend council meetings. So it's an investment of time to learn what's going on in our city, what's important to my fellow Maricopans, watching council, getting to know staff.
Same question.
Will you repeat the question real quick?
What is your largest contribution, not monetary, to the city of Maricopa?
Largest contribution to the city of Maricopa. I think I've made many contributions to the city of Maricopa. Maybe the most recently is, an expansion of Sunrise Cafe. I hope spearhead and negotiate that contract to expand. That's just one business. I've had multiple businesses here. I liquidated one, but I would say the newspaper was probably the biggest contribution to this city. I worked endlessly for 5 years helping influence and make changes that needed to be made within this city, and that I believed in and I think the people believed in, and those changes council has made, and we're moving forward to build the city that we all wanted it to be and what it's going to be. Everyone has their differences, and I would say in this room, I was probably not liked at some points in time, but I think we all move past that, and we have the same common goal, and that's to build a great city.
Thank you.
Other questions? I have a question for you both. I'll actually have Sean go first on this one, just kind of balance it out. If there's another question, we'll have 2 times for Peg to have gone first, 2 times for Sean to have gone first. The question I have actually relates to economic development. One of the things that I think is really important is economic development, and there's so many different ways. There's no silver bullet here on how to bring it in or to convince people to come here or anything. So my question to you is really how financing works in this city and how it relates outside of the city. And it's kind of a difficult question because one of the things people always think is if you lower the development impact fees to nothing, then suddenly we have a great way to bring people here. In theory, it'd be right if we were the only city doing that, but it's also something that's impossible. So what are your thoughts on that?
When I look at impact fees, I don't look at government or our city as a fee structure. I don't think our city was built on fees. I don't think most cities were built on fees. Most cities were built on fundamentally sound business decisions, and that's tax revenue off of property taxes, retail sales taxes, whatever grant funds you can get. It's not based off of, a $10 permit here, a $15 permit here. Those are great during the boom time, capitalize on them. But when the boom time's gone, you don't have a revenue stream anymore. What people are going to stay in their basic human need is housing. And they're going to try to stay in their houses as long as they possibly can to pay them off. And with that comes a sound, true fundamental base for this city. And that's housing units and commercial units that increase the tax revenue.
Okay, thank you. Peg, same question.
I understand the competitive nature of development impact fees, but without those fees, we're not going to be able to provide the services that our citizens expect and quite honestly deserve. I think that given what I've learned attending council meetings and other committee meetings, we're at about the middle of the road compared to some of the other jurisdictions. The other thing you have to consider is Maricopa's history in terms of being the foreclosure poster child for the United States for a while. That hit us deeply, and we're still recovering from that. But I think more importantly, we need to focus on it as a cost recovery as opposed to building Maricopa based on how we can nickel and dime our businesses. One of our greatest assets is our home-based businesses and our sole entrepreneurships. We need to capitalize on that, and council's taken a huge step forward in deciding to move ahead with an RFP for an incubator space. If we can lend support on whatever level to help our small businesses grow, one of the most exciting things that's happened here in the last few months was the expansion, double in size, of the Sunrise Cafe. I would love to see other businesses be able to do that. Tacos and More moved. Okay, there's new things popping up all the time. I know that the state limits us in terms of what kind of incentives we can get, but maybe that's something we need to work on. We need to tell Arizona, you need to move into the 21st century. We need to become competitive with other things across the nation. So the importance of development impact fees It's just one piece of a puzzle.
Thank you. Council members, any other questions or discussion? It appears not, so would you prefer to move to a vote based on the form you have in front of you? Any further discussion? If not, please move forward with your vote, and we'll tabulate it up. Here's the old one, if you want to write on it again. Probably.
There's no business like show.
You tap dance too? Because I really want to see that. Okay. And lo and behold, we have a tie. We should have designated you earlier. All right, so there's our tie. At which point I would ask the council, do you wish to keep going through these types of votes? Would you wish to move to a voice vote so we can make it faster, even if it keeps ending as a tie? How would you prefer to proceed? Obviously, we have the forms in front of us. We can keep doing it that way, or we can move to a voice vote. I mean, it was a tie after all, so how would you prefer to go?
This is fine for me.
Okay, we'll keep going until we run out of forms, or we pick somebody, one of the two. All right. You wish to discuss anything about either candidate, good or bad? It's all on the record.
Mayor Price.
Yes, council member.
I'd like to congratulate both finalists to getting this far. I mean, there's a wealth of good candidates that are very interested in participating with our city and putting their best foot forward, and it's definitely a difficult decision. And I think one of the things that came out, one of the questions I asked was, if you weren't appointed, who would you appoint? And a common name came up among all of them, especially the ones that were very involved in the community and have been here a while, and that was Peg Chapados. So based on that, I would say she's a good candidate. She's number one.
Okay. Anyone else? Like to add, subtract from that?
I'd like to add to that. If somebody by the name of Mickey Mouse was on the forum, everybody would recognize the name. Peg is out in the community a lot, and she is very active. Sean, like he had mentioned, is active in regards to watching the meetings via technology. His name might not be as well known as Peg's. Like I said, she is out and about and stuff. But I think, given the answers to the questions and giving Sean's business background and having ran the communicator for as long as he did, I think he's the better candidate for the job. So.
I'm sorry? Oh, go ahead.
It should mean something.
Okay. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
And I have to add on that, although it's obvious throughout the whole night who my pick has been. But I got to say, I'm really impressed with Mr. Slagle's answers. When he sat there and told us that, he takes advantage of the technology, he obviously does, because he had some very good sound answers, and he had very logical answers for every one of our questions. And I guess I was trying to nail home on our obstacles. One of our biggest obstacles is infrastructure, and it's water. And Sean hit that nail right on the head. and he didn't even hesitate with that answer. So, you know, it just, although, I mean, we can't compare Peg to anybody. I mean, this woman goes to every single subcommittee meeting we have, every council meeting we have, every work session meeting we had. We had our 5-year strategic plan retreat 2 weeks ago. There was one citizen out of 47,000 that stayed at that whole entire retreat, and guess who it was? Peg Chapados. So when it comes to involvement and being a part of your community and showing that presence and that face, man, it just doesn't get any better than Peg Chapados when you look at the 17 applicants. So this is tough. This is very tough.
Other thoughts, concerns? I mean, this is absolutely a, you know, gut-wrenching decision for a lot of reasons, and like the Vice Mayor said, you know, certainly this is no different. You know, I heard from a lot of people in the community that had looked at the, you know, we put this on the internet, and we had a lot of people, you know, email council members. I know you got them. I know that as you were out and about in the community, you had people approach you with their yays and nays of different people. We had some for and some against, and you know, it was great to see all of that and to take all of that into consideration. I think that, you know, you start down this path and you think that this is going to be the two people that I appoint, and then it gets narrowed down by others who are around you, and they have the final say because there are many and you're one. And we have these two great people in front of us. Both have been big contributors to the society. I mean, Sean has run a great newspaper and done that for many years when no one else would. And you know, that's really interesting, and it shows a good business mind. But at the same time, Peggy also has a you know, self-employed business. And you know, I agree with the Vice Mayor. You know, we're trying to find someone who can have had experience with these different things, and really find a way to gel with these people. And you know, I have to say that I think I'm at a lot of things, but when I look at Peggy, she's there, more of them. She's there before me and moves after me, and you know, that's really tough to do. So you know, I think that at the same time, we're trying to find a replacement here. We're trying to fill a void on this council, and we're certainly trying to find someone who can fit right in, hit the ground running, and really have a good comprehensive knowledge of the workings of this internal government here and the city government. I mean, for someone who spent hours and hours and hours volunteering in code compliance because she wanted to versus having to, that says a lot about somebody. So again, I lean towards Peg in that respect, and you know, like the Vice Mayor said, it's hard to argue that. Now, being present is not the only thing. There are lots of different subjective criteria that each of us had to deal with today, but we are looking to fill and represent 45,000 people. Councilman Brown.
Time for the vote.
Any other discussion? With that, let's move to the vote. Yep. Look at that. Poker player. Okay, it appears that Peggy Chapados has been appointed. council members, we need a formal motion on this. Can we have a motion and a second on this item, action and discussion tonight?
Mayor Price, I move to appoint Peggy Chavadores as our next council member.
We have a first. I have a second.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? None. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now, before you all run away, we are going to have the swearing in the city clerk by legal rights. We do so. Peg would come up here. We're going to swear her in tonight, and then we'll formally adjourn the meeting. Thank you guys for putting in the time. That's 3.5 hours. A lot of time.
Been longer.
It could have been longer.
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will faithfully and impartially. That I will faithfully and impartially. Discharge the duties of council member of the city of Maricopa. Discharge the duties of council member of the city of Maricopa. According to the best of my ability, so help me God. According to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations. And thank you very much for everything through this. We've been here for a long 3.5 hours. Thank you to the candidates. And can I have a formal motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.